Hey metalheads, welcome back to Simmo Metal. I've got my guest today, Adam Clayton from Age of Emergence, and we're going to talk a bit about Adam's drum style, what drummers inspire him, and we're going to get into some really cool stuff, just general metal talk. So me and Adam actually work together in some of our big Apache jobs and stuff like that, setting up for shows.
Backline.
Yeah, backline, and bump in, bump out. So, yeah, we've got a bit of history together. So I thought it'd be great to have Adam here at the studio, rather than a video call. So, how have you been? I know that you've just come straight from one of your band practices with one of your bands today.
Yeah, I did. I had a punctured practice this afternoon,
Yep.
and I did a gig at the Mosh Pit Bar in Sydney last night with Age of Emergence.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
That was with Gravity Stone, Halcyon Rain, and T-Rex Autopsy.
Oh, I need to check them out, actually.
T-Rex Autopsy are trying to get a show up in Newcastle. Hamo's booked out till like the end of the year, so it's like trying to work out a date.
Yeah, it's trying to get one of those shows at the Hamo, yeah.
We've got something lined up in September, but I'm not sure where that's going to be or when or who it's with yet. It's sort of like being worked on. But that's with Age of Emergence as well.
Yep, awesome. So, you're just recently with Age of Emergence, aren't you?
I took over from Ben Baxter in October of last year. So the guys put an ad out on Facebook.
Yep.
I knew the guys. I said, look, do you want me to come in and audition for you? I know that you know me. I know that, you know, like, I don't want to just be able to walk in and be like, hey, I want the gig. I wanted to do it properly. So I went to them and said, look, I'll come in, I'll audition, I'll learn the songs that you've got,
Hell yeah.
and then work on the newest stuff. And if you like my style, you can then get me in. And we jammed, it worked, they liked it. They asked me to join straight on the spot.
I can see you fitting in very well with that style as well. Because I am going to say this in the lightest way, but I get a very bit of a power metal feel. So, and then also on top of that, to top it off, is a bit of like a progressive feel as well.
And those are my two favourite genres. Like, I'm a big prog fan, a big power metal fan.
Yeah,
like,
awesome.
Currently, my two favourite bands that I've got going are Dream Theater, which obviously, like, for me, they're the GOAT band of all time.
Yeah.
And then Unleash the Archers. So I saw them in Sydney last week.
Oh.
And they were unreal. It was, She has a Bruce Dickinson vibe when she's up on stage. She tries to utilise all the space, and she can project as well. But they're a power metal band, and they're probably what I think is probably the best power metal band in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
That's not someone like Nightwish, who've been around for like 20 years.
Yeah.
So 20, 30 years. So, you know, it's like, they're probably the best new power metal band that are around at the moment.
Yeah, awesome. And they're an Australian act, are they?
Unleash the Archers are actually Canadian.
Oh, okay. All right. Awesome. So I'm going to have to check them out. I haven't heard much about them, but yeah, awesome.
Their last 3 albums are all concept records.
Share me some links later.
Yeah, I will. So the new album, Phantoma, is really, really good. I've been listening to it basically on repeat because it's just like, it's amazing. But Apex and Abyss are basically 2 parts. So it's like one massive concept. So if you listen to it from first to last, it tells a massive story. It's like, I like concepts too because I like Rush, 2112.
Yeah.
Dream Theater with Metropolis.
Yeah.
Queensryche with Operation Mindcrime. Those sorts of things.
With Age of Emergence, is that a bit concepty too? Because I noticed that you're basically on a part 1 EP at the moment.
So that'd be something that we're looking at trying to expand on, but
yeah,
it's obviously
awesome.
It could be a Dream Theater scenario where they did Metropolis Part 1 in 1992.
Yeah,
and then it took them until 1999 to release Metropolis Part 2.
Yeah, so it might take a while. All right.
It depends on how Dean writes and
and that's it.
And how the music comes together, and if it sort of works, it works. And then we'll work it from there. So.
Awesome. But yeah, I am looking forward on hearing that expanded eventually in the future. That'd be rad. I even did some concept stuff myself just not long ago. So I've released that. Everyone knows about that, my Jackal Crow stuff. But if you get a chance to check it out, Yeah. It's very concepty. So it's dealing with good and evil, dark and light. Yeah. The hate and the filth is sort of the evil, nasty side of the concept, and then the love and the light is like the loving and the open-minded side of the
stuff
concept.
Stuff in like a major key and a minor key.
Yeah. Well, I actually recorded a lot of the hate and the filth stuff at standard 440. Yeah. But for all of the love and the light, it's at drop C sharp at 432 hertz. So I have a tuner that lets me adjust my hertz for my tuning, and I tune that to 432 hertz, and all of the songs on that have this shimmer to them. And it's like something about that 432, that tiny bit of a lower tuning. So yeah, interesting.
Well, I was kind of looking at it from like a more from what I understand, because I just play drums, I hit things, I don't actually play guitar or piano or anything, but from how I've seen people like Jordan Rudess or John Petrucci from Dream Theater explain things like that, you can go into a minor key and it gives it a more sort of like doom thing.
Yep.
And then you go into a major key and then it's sort of like more happy.
Yep.
It's like this is always something that your fans don't know, but I've clued in on. In Star Wars, the celebration music at the end of episode 3 is the exact same note pattern as the Emperor's theme in later Star Wars, just in a minor key and slowed down. So the notes are the same. It's just it's slowed down for the Emperor's theme and then sped up for the party sort of.
Wow! Yeah. And I did a whole heap of Star Wars composition stuff. We actually cracked open Star Wars compositions for my sound production. Yeah. And yeah, now that you mention
that's a genius of John Williams sort of thing. He's the premier film composer for a reason.
There's even things apparently from Luke's theme that is also Darth Vader's theme, but in a different key and in a and
so the Twin Sons thing, like the not main Star Wars theme.
Yeah.
And I mean, like even if you look at the Star Wars theme, because it was distributed by Fox. If you look at the 20th Century Fox, when they do that fanfare thing, it cuts straight into the Star Wars theme because it's in the same key.
Yeah. All right.
So when you watch them back to back and you have the 21st Century Fox theme come in, and then the Star Wars theme, it's almost like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just, that's one of the cool things I like about music composition is the things that you can do when you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like why I gravitate towards a lot of the melodic stuff, because you can get a lot of people play a lot of really, really cool things with melody.
Yeah. I love playing with melody. Yeah. Even when I was doing my sound production, they actually made sure that I had to learn a lot more extra music theory. And it opened me up to now playing different modes on my guitar. I'm literally jamming on a song at the moment that goes from a minor key at the start, like a minor E, like da 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 da. But then in the chorus, it opens up into that major E. So da na 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 na. And so, yeah.
It's a lot of the difference between like pop music and metal music as well. Like a lot of pop music uses a lot of major keys.
Yep.
Whereas a lot of like metal, particularly black metal, uses a lot of those like minor modes and stuff like that. And it gives it that sense of impending dread. Especially when you listen to black metal, like you listen to those like the fast like on all the minor keys.
Tremolo stuff.
It's like horror movie themes. Like when you listen to like the trills in horror movies.
Yeah.
A lot of black metal's a lot like that.
And it's on the keyboard. It's using like the black keys and stuff like that. So as soon as you're like holding a few white keys on the keyboard, as soon as you add a few black keys in. It sounds like suspenseful, you know. So a lot of black metal guys are using that stuff. So getting back to a bit of your drumming, I want to talk about some of the stuff about your setup, because I actually showed my dad today. So my dad came over this morning and I showed him a picture of your drum kit, and he just goes, yeah, well, this guy's not like mucking around, is he? So I want to talk about your rig, like.
There's a reason.
Like, especially those tube toms.
Oh, the Octobons.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I've started to garner the nickname Portnoy Jr.
Dude.
It's I'm unapologetically like the biggest Portnoy fan, probably at least in our area. In general.
I've even said to a few of my friends, I'm like, he's the Portnoy guy.
Yeah, which is why I was so stoked when it was announced last year that he was coming back to Dream Theater. I basically nearly...
I have heard the big news about that, and when I heard it, I was like, Adam's gonna be happy.
And then they did all the Drumeo stuff with him doing Dream Theater, and I had the biggest smile on my face seeing him do all that.
And I had Kyle talking to me about the stuff where they had him play Tool.
Oh yeah,
and even he's like, yeah, Denny Carey can have that.
Yeah. once he worked out, it's like, Portnoy's the sort of guy, and this is part of the reason why I'm like, I had to explain to people. It's like, there is a significant divide in the Dream Theater fandom.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys who love Mangini, and there's a lot of guys that love Portnoy. So that's a major contention point. And then a lot of the Mangini fans don't think Portnoy can play anything that Mangini's written. And I'm like, now we've got that Numa video, Portnoy will be able to do it given enough time.
Yeah.
He put together something that would be passable in 5.5 hours. Now, for an average guy like myself, it'd take me months to even get to that level of being able to play that song.
Yeah.
Because that is like he said, it's a mathematic equation in a piece of music.
Yeah.
Once you work out the time signature loops between 12, 11, and 10, so 6, 6, 6, 5, 5, 5, and it loops like that, you can then play it. But even then, knowing that and then being able to just jam along to it like Portnoy did is completely different. So I know, because obviously watching the video, I know the modulating pattern.
Yep.
I still wouldn't be able to play that song. I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
Like, there's one guy who did it, who I know, who's probably like the best drummer in Newcastle, a guy named Nick Buki. He's a drummer for Wayward Kings.
Okay, yeah, I have heard that name before, yep.
He is probably the best teacher in town. He learnt that song in an evening for one of the guys in his band.
Yeah, just in an evening. Like.
So, and then he had the chart next to him as well, so he can sight read and play off charts.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not at that level yet. I can read charts, but I'm not. I wouldn't be going. Yeah, we're gonna do Numa tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we're not.
No.
I'm not confident doing that.
Yeah.
But going back to my setup. And
yeah.
stuff
So
like
back
this,
to your setup. Like you've got. Have you got Portnoy gear? Have you got some signature gear?
I've got all 3 of the signature model snares that are commercially available.
Yeah.
So I've got the 14. I've got the Babinga snare. I've got the hammered steel, and I've got the 12-inch hammered steel. Now I also happen to have one of the 250 white ones of the 12 that exist. So I'm very lucky to have that. I purchased that from Andrew Craig, who's played for Requiem of the Damned and for Rise of Furnace. So he played drums for them. You probably know Daryl, that's probably why you know Requiem.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I bought that off him. So I've got the 3 signature model snares, and across the front of my setup, if you ever see a picture of it, it's the splash, and the stack that are across the front. They're also the Portnoy signature stacks. So I've got the Melody Master snares, and I've got the Max splashes and stacks that are, one of the stacks that's available has got 3. So I've got the mid, then you've got the 7 and 9 Max splashes that I've got as well. And then you've also got the 11, which I don't have yet. But I'm looking at trying to find one. But I've got the octobans mounted above the hi-hats. Yeah. So
that was what always takes my eye.
Yeah.
It's like, because they're just an unusual sort of piece. Yeah.
They're a different sort of sound source too.
Yep.
So a lot of guys, I've actually started incorporating it into a small setup for gigs, like for cover gigs.
Yeah.
So I've got a 12, there's 14, and 16 floor tom. A 12 rack, 14 floor, 16 floor, and then I mounted 2 octobans. So I was like, 12.
Yep.
So even on a cover gig kit, which was primarily used like in this sort of piece, it's like a hybrid Bonzo Portnoy setup.
Yep.
But it is closer to Portnoy's Winery Dogs kit. Where he has the octobands. And
so it's touching on that Winery Dogs sort of stuff. Yep, alright.
So it's like and I saw him do that, and I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. And then I decided, fuck, I'm doing it. I'm just like, this is happening now.
Yeah, man.
So the Octobans have sort of become my signature thing, as well as the purple bandana.
Yeah.
So every kit every kit configuration I'm now using has the Octobans, and I wear the purple bandana. So when you see those two things on stage, you'll know that it's me.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm trying to develop my own sort of like signature thing. It's particularly in a local thing, because that way when people go and they go, oh, I know that guy. He's the guy that has the Octobans.
Yeah.
Even though they may not know my name, they'll recognize my look and my sound. And for me, that's more of my goal. My kit is it's a showpiece in itself, because obviously
it truly is.
It's like
you guys have got to see it.
Yeah, it's half the show, so it's like it's 2 kick
I
drums.
might even see. I could do a thing where I take a screenshot of it, and just after one of these here, I'll edit in that comes up, or I'll edit a photo of that in.
So it's got the 3 rack toms across the front. It's got 2 floor toms. I've got the 2 kicks. I've incorporated a Mangini thing in there as well, so I've now got a remote hi-hat that I can control with my right foot.
Oh.
That sits to my right. So I've got my main hi-hat on my left, which is still foot controlled, off my left foot, and then I've got the one on the right that's controlled by my right foot.
Wow, a right foot.
Yeah, so when you look at the pedals, it's got hi-hat pedal, bass drum pedal, hi-hat pedal. So it's a symmetrical thing at the bottom.
Yeah,
and then you can do like with the feet on the hats and get these weird sort of like phasing sounds, because they're two different hi-hat types.
Yeah, okay.
So that's sort of like, again, this is sort of like the me trying to develop my own signature style by taking from my influences. So obviously Portnoy being my most major influence, but it's like there's still 5 Dream Theater albums that have Mangini on it, and I want to be able to play some of that material, and I can't do that without the extra set of hi-hats, because Mangini's thing, he does a lot of dual hat stuff that someone like Portnoy doesn't do. Yeah. So in order for me to be able to incorporate that into my style, I've got to be able to work out how to do the 2-foot ambidexterity, the right.
You're starting to become an octopus at that point, eh?
Well, on my YouTube channel, I've got a cover of "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey.
Yep.
And I've tried to learn that the way Steve Smith played it. Now I've seen guys around play it, but they don't do the open hand on the hi hats. And in order to be able to get the tom groove and the snare properly in that, you have to have the left hand over on the hi hat. Yeah. If you don't, it's not going to be right, because you can't playing it closed-handed like normally like that. Yeah. You then have to reach with the left hand underneath. Yeah, so you got this to then get the ride bell. Yeah. But if you play the left hand over here, you freeze up your right hand. So guys like Robin Stone, who's like probably I would think among with Dave Haley and Dan Preston, is probably the best metal drummer in this country. Yeah. He plays open-handed. So he's like playing like this rather than... Yeah, so he plays like left hand here, like he's got his hats here and his right here, and he's freely able to move his right hand. Wow. I have seen a couple of guys doing that. Gene Hoglan does that too. Yes, yeah. And what's his name? Sean Drover as well from Megadeth played open-handed as well. The awesome guy on YouTube that pretty much can play all the Slipknot songs with one hand. Oh, Elas Tapario? Yeah. He sort of plays close-handed. Does he? Okay. I swear I've seen him do it open a couple of times. He's developed enough independence to be able to do the open-handed thing. Yeah. And that's sort of like one of the things with drumming. It's like, when you're talking about guitar, so you've got finger independence, how to get your fingers to independently work to be able to play like arpeggiated scales and all that sort of stuff. Same with keyboards, like finger independence across that. Yeah. With drums, it's 4-limb independence. So it's like 4-limb independence. Virgil Donati's probably the master of this, because he can play 4 time signatures at once. Yeah. So he can play 1 time signature with one hand, 1 with the other, and then a different one with one foot, and a different one with his other foot. Yeah. So that is that is ultimate level independence. Thomas Lang's like that too. So Thomas Lang has a very high level of independence. Like. Yeah, awesome. And that's what you've got going on at the moment, like all that limb independence is sort of to build it. It's developing that. Okay. Sorry, metalheads. Sorry, Adam, about the background noise there. Just some restless kids, tired in the afternoon, and just I'm trying to film a YouTube video with a professional musician in my back room. So I'm thinking of maybe
relocating the studio down to the shed, and then I can focus on my craft a lot more. And just touching back on that limb independence.
Yeah, so it's like it's starting to build that now. So now that I've got the right foot hi-hat pedal, it's sort of like trying to play a basic rock groove with my left foot leading on the bass drum, and then being able to do the hi-hat slides and stuff that you get when you're doing... it's like a hi-hat slide is a very difficult thing to pronounce, but it's when you hear the hat go shh, shh.
Yeah.
So I call it a slide. They're sometimes called barks. But you do that by hitting the cymbal when it's open and then quickly closing it with your foot. Yeah. And you can get different sounds by how long you hold it for.
I've even heard Gingerfish from Marilyn Manson playing with that before, like as a weird thing on a slow Marilyn Manson song, and it made the song extra creepy.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that's very difficult to sort of explain. When you hear it, you know what it is. Like Roger Taylor from Queen uses it a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like you listen to Somebody to Love, when he hits the snare on the backbeat, he's doing that with the hi-hat. So that's a basic example that a lot of people can go and find and listen to get an idea of kind of what I'm talking about in that.
Yep.
But it's trying to do that with my right foot. But my right foot's so used to playing a rock beat that when I go to play on the beat, it slams down like I'm hitting the bass drum pedal. And it's trying to get my legs to work in a different way. So I can sit there and like play. And also trying to do like stuff with my left foot. So and that also builds into double bass playing as well, because obviously the more independent...
I've always called that sort of like rat-a-tat playing.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of rat-a-tat.
Yeah,
sort of.
So it's like you're playing like a... And then underneath the kick drum's like...
Yeah.
And it's like sort of like almost like the bass drum pattern from Toto.
Yeah.
From Rosanna.
Yeah, okay, yep. Yeah.
So it's sort of like that. But it's trying to do that with my left foot, which is... And it's... When you're right-footed, it's great. When you're left-footed... When you're left-footed, it works fantastically, obviously, because you're left foot lead, normally. When you're used to playing right-handed and right foot lead, it's developing the entire other side of your body. But it works well for metal playing, because obviously a lot of blast beats and a lot of the faster stuff need that... You need to have the left side of your body be able to keep up with your right. Yeah. So people go, oh, what's your max tempo? It is always what your weakest side can play at. It's not what your right side can play at, because you can play super fast on the ride. Playing 250 with the ride, but if your left side is only going 200, that's max speed. Because otherwise you try and push it above that, it's not clean. And with obviously metal playing, you want everything to be clean. So
super clean.
And developing stuff like that as a drummer is important, but it's like, for me, like, when I was getting into it, they said, oh, playing fast is cool, but you still got to be able to lay back and groove. And there's a lot of guys that can play super fast, but can't play an AC/DC song. You need to be able to, in order to be a well-rounded player, you kind of need to be able to do both. If you're cool playing super fast and only want to do that, I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're wrong and you shouldn't do it.
I've had a few jams with them fellas who do this too.
I can't play that fast. I'm not going to sit here and say you're a shit player for focusing just on that. That's what you want to do. All the power in the world to you. Because that's what you want to do.
Look at that guy from Slaughter to Prevail. Just everything fast.
And Spencer Pruitt from Arch Spire as well, like with the gravity blast that playing stuff at like 340 BPM. I'm like, most guys can't even get to 300.
I have had
pushing it. I'm like, he's pushing to the limit what is physically possible on the instrument. Within a musical context. Like and same with Ricardo Molina. He's like, you see him play blast beats, and it's like super fast, super clean, but at the same time, it's like, it's pushing the limit of what is physically possible with the instrument. So it's like, when you want to do that, it's cool. But you got to also be able to apply it to a musical context. And some guitar players can't play that fast. But if you want to get to that cap, so that you're there, so that when the guitarists finally catch up to you, cool. I mean, you're pushing the game, and that's why I like I praise Alessio Siberiano out the butt because he is redefining drumming with what he's doing.
Yeah, he can do fast. He can have that groove, like. But I have
his level of independence as well. Like that Blinding Lights video he did is a level of extreme independence that I'm like, that's redefining what is possible on this instrument.
Yeah.
And I'm stoked that there's guys out there
to the point where he's doing things with one hand and stuff just to show off, like. But I have had
like the intro to, is it the intro to the Slipknot song? I think it's, I don't know if it's
yeah, is it People Equal Shit?
Yeah. And doing that with one hand. I'm like, it's just, it's ridiculous.
But just on a quick word, I've had a few jams with a few guys down in the shed before where I went, all right, let's go. And then it's turned out that my mate, Alex, was so into blast beats and stuff that when it came to going halftime in the song, or I'm like, come on, let's like bring it down to a nice slow breakdown here. He's like, bro, I can't. I actually can't. Everything's yeah.
I mean,
and it's like, but where do we go to the mid pace groove?
Like
and we never could.
If you're doing the brutal death metal stuff, like if you want to be Paul Mazuievsky from Cannibal Corpse and do that for a living,
yeah,
or Eugene Rybchenko from Flesh
then
Apocalypse,
all the power to you.
Like, and I'm not gonna say you want to do that music. That's cool. I'm like, I like a lot of the melodic stuff. I like Dream Theater. I like Queensryche. I like Rush.
I really have been listening to some Queensryche lately.
There's a level of technicality in that. It's not like fast technical, it's intricate technical. So it's the subtleties and the ghost notes and trying to get all those little things right.
Yep. So, after talking about your rig and that, what are some of the drummers that inspire you the most at the moment?
Well, Mike Portnoy is always going to be at the top of that list.
Yep.
Gavin Harrison from Porcupine Tree.
Oh, Porcupine Tree, which is also a bit of people from Opeth, is that right?
No, Stephen Wilson, who's the singer from Porcupine Tree, produced a lot of Opeth.
Okay, that's how they're linked.
And it's Storm Corrosion. So this is the side project that Mikhail Ackerfeld has.
Okay.
That's him and Stephen Wilson.
I've always had this sense that somehow those two bands are linked. Yeah. Okay.
Stephen Wilson's produced a lot of the Opeth records. I think he actually produced Blackwater Park, which is regarded as the best Opeth record.
Yeah, it is the best Opeth record.
It and Ghost Reveries, because they've got like the best songs.
Yeah, Ghost Reveries is pretty amazing too.
I mean,
that's where I learn all of my from.
And Mikhail's got he's got some of the nicest growls as well.
Yes.
They're not. There are guys out there that have like real harsh, like I love. What was his name from Lorna Shore? Forget his name.
Oh, Will Ramos.
Yeah, Will Ramos.
Yeah,
he's got real brutal and real sick sounding like growls and screams, and his screams and his pig squeals are fantastic.
Off the scale.
But Mikhail has like the nicest sounding growls you'll ever hear, because there's a lot. He puts a lot of breath into it. So there's a lot of air, and you can actually enunciate and hear what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what I've always liked, is you can understand every word that he's saying. There's a lot of guys that will just
growl, and you can't understand a word they're saying. Like, Corpse Grinder.
Yeah.
George Fisher from Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah.
You can't really understand what he's saying.
No, and he says it really quick because he's sort of enunciating with the beat.
Yeah.
So it's... Yeah.
And it's like, it's cool. It gives a sound. But it's like, on the opposite, which is Death Clock, which is supposed to be like the cartoon parody
of Cannibal Corpse.
Brendan Small's vocals in that are sick.
Yeah.
So
they're perfect, actually. And they just released just a tiny bit of metal news. New Metalocalypse album, new Metalocalypse movie to finish off the story.
Hell yeah.
The Doomstar, and I watched that the other night.
Doomstar Requiem, that is so good.
And it was to finish it off. So after the Requiem, there's a new one called Return of the Doomstar. So this is the final.
Yeah.
And that one, if you get a chance, I'll share you the link for that. And that's like the big grand finale. So you actually find out everything about the dead man and all about it. And then all secrets are revealed. So, a bit of metal news on that one. But, so I see you like sharing some Eloy stuff.
Oh, Eloy, the big house.
Yeah.
Mr. Big House himself. When I saw that he joined, it's like I've had to get in, I haven't got in arguments, or I haven't had to get in arguments. I've run across Jay Weinberg fans. Again, this is one of the things that's, the Dream Theater fandom and the Slipknot fandom, they're like that when it comes to fighting about drummers.
Yeah.
So people go, oh, Jay's a better drummer than Eloy. I'm like, technically that is a false statement. Jay's his own sort of guy.
Yeah.
But I think...
I mean, he's still the weapon, but
seeing him play with Suicidal Tendencies and Infectious Grooves, I think that's more what he is suited to.
He is so suited to that, especially Infectious Grooves.
Whereas with Slipknot, he was playing stuff way too fast, to the point where I don't think his body could actually physically keep up with how fast he wanted to play the songs. And it also was affecting Corey. With Eloy, he's playing stuff the way that Joey wrote it.
Yeah.
And Corey's vocals sound so much better, particularly on songs like Spit It Out, Duality.
Because they're songs that originally had Joey's pace.
Before I Forget, all that sort of stuff. It's like, Joey wrote that, and it's like people go, oh, I want to listen to the album. I'm like, no, but you still need your singer to be able to get through the songs.
Yeah.
Now, there are songs that Mick will start on the guitar.
Yep.
And
well,
you know,
Right Before I Forget, that's the opening. Down.
He starts that song, and you know they're not playing to a click because of that. Like, they're not using, you look, it's like, there was a guy I watched called Conch Watch, looking for any monitors in these guys. Mick wasn't wearing them, neither was, what's his name, Jim.
Yeah.
None of those guys were wearing in-ears. Eloy was, but it's not got click going through it. He's getting just his stage mix.
Stage mix, okay.
So he's getting his stage mix into his ear so he can hear every
instrument and hear things properly so he can play along.
But when you watch the footage of the first show they did, which I think was from Mick's wife, she was taking side.
Yeah.
You can see this flashing next to Eloy. He's got a flashing metronome. So he's starting the songs on that, looking at the timing, counting it in.
That's pretty
and
handy.
then playing it. But he's not listening to it. So they still have that organic ebb and flow with time.
But he's also got something if he really needs to reference.
But because they're close enough to album tempo now, Corey sounds a lot better.
Yeah. I even seen footage of them.
And Corey seems happier too. Like, we've seen all the news about Corey suffering severe depression. He seems a lot happier now on stage.
Yeah.
He's not I've worked with a singer who used to always be very, very pedantic about his voice.
Okay, yep.
And if he played things too fast, he felt like he was having to strain.
Yep.
With a style like Slipknot, that's even worse.
Yes. Yep, and I use that vocal style the same as Corey in a lot of my Jackal Crow stuff, and to be able to sing that fast and hard, like I've even tried singing along to Sick in the shed myself with Corey, and I actually run out of breath a little bit for Sick because it's a really hard and fast song.
But over the last 20 years, Corey I view as being the premier metal vocalist because he can sing too. It's not that he just screams and growls, it's that he also can sing.
He's a really good singer.
And he's
a rock star.
Yeah, he is. He's one of the...
Probably one of the last ones left.
Him and Portnoy.
Yeah.
Portnoy's a rock star as well. Like, he has that rock star attitude.
Yeah.
He goes out there, he has like the full thing. But Corey's like that too. But it's like, when you have to sing those growl sections of like Wait and Bleed, and you're trying to do, doing that chorus, and you're trying to do that too fast. And you do that too fast, like what was happening with Jay, that's where you get a problem, because it's like, it starts to strain. Yeah. And Corey's whole thing is he's a singer. If he damages his voice because of that, it can cause problems. Yeah,
big problems for the rest of the tour.
And that's part of the reason why
you break a string on a guitar, you put another string on it. You break your vocal cords,
you can't replace it. It's
you're
your
out.
Body. It's like Rick Allen is the main example. He lost an arm. He's the drummer from Def Leppard.
Yep.
The world's famous one-armed
I just seen them not long ago, and what a show!
The whole band. Is,
That's how good Def Leppard are.
The whole band is spectacular.
The whole show was. That's the word for it. It was spectacular. And then Motley Crue come out and just be mad drunken bastards. Yeah. But that was still awesome as well.
So Joe Elliott's...
Because by that point I was loaded and I wanted to be a drunken bastard with
Joe Elliott's vocal isn't as good as it was, but that's age.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Sebastian Bach. Like, he doesn't sound like he did.
Don't get me started on Sebastian.
And Vince Neil doesn't even sound as good as he did in the 80s. But that's abusing your body. That's done that.
Man. I love Vince, but even live, there was just some moments where it was like, come on, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, is that my song? Is it Vince? Thanks, man. Like,
it's like, but that's abuse, and that's abusing the body. But that's why people like Corey, he's been on drugs, he's been an alcoholic, he's doing all the recovery stuff to get.
And he used to be a smoker as well.
And I think he's at the point now, because I think he's in his 50s now. He'd be like, if I want to keep doing this for the next at least 15 years, I need to get healthy. I need to get clean.
Yep.
So he's been in rehab. He's getting his depression under control, and one of the things that is a personal thing for me is you never fully recover from depression. It's always there.
Yeah.
You're one event from being...
I feel you, man. I just did a mental health video a couple of days ago. Great response from everyone, by the way. Thank you.
So you're always one event away from going back down into the abyss.
Yep.
So Corey's now trying to get his life in line so that he's going to avoid that event.
Yep.
And obviously with Slipknot being like the biggest metal band in the world that's not Metallica.
Yeah.
Like, no one will ever be as big as Metallica.
No. They just made Metallica characters for Fortnite.
Yeah.
Like...
It's like they're that pop culturally relevant.
Yeah, they're that pop culturally relevant.
Slipknot's like that. So it's like Corey getting himself healthy and getting a drummer in that is stylistically very, very similar to Joey.
With what their proper original sound was.
And it's like...
I actually seen footage of them playing their small show, and there's a moment where Eloy's doing his thing.
Yeah. And
I think it's the clown, or it might have been Corey. One of them looks back at Eloy, and they just sort of like nod their head like, yeah, like this is the guy, man. This is the guy. Like
it's because Eloy is, I think, Mario Duplantier from Gojira has said it. Ellis DePario has said it. Eloy Casagrande is probably the best metal drummer on the planet right now, just in terms of what he can do. So it's like
I'm agreeing.
It's like there are guys like Eugene Rabchenko who I think deserve way more, and Karen Lackner who plays in Septic Flesh and now Darth.
Oh, Darth,
Yeah, so those guys deserve praise, but Eloy Casagrande is like the complete metal drummer. Because he's got that Brazilian background, he can do all like the samba, the Afro-Cuban stuff that comes out of Brazil.
Yeah, so he's got a bit of that too, that samba groove.
When he hits hard, but he's hitting with finesse.
Yep.
He is the cleanest hitting guy. He's also a human metronome. Like you rarely see his tempo now that he's not playing in Slipknot. He's not playing with a click.
Yep.
His tempo is going to waver that little bit, but ultimately it's still going to be close to where Joey wrote everything.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. And LA wouldn't have gotten that gig if he wasn't up to it.
No, and that's the thing. I even remember some of the Sepultura stuff that I was actually listening to about 2 years ago, and I'm going, okay, so Igor's not drumming, he's doing Cavalera Conspiracy. Yeah. Who is this Sepultura drummer? Yeah. And I remember getting hooked on those last two Sepultura albums just because of the drumming. Yeah. Because I drifted away from Sepultura ever since Max and
Igor left.
It was like not really Sepultura for me. But once
that was like me with the back end of Slayer when it didn't have Hanneman or
Yeah, okay, yeah. Once it was like Gary Holt and that, yeah.
Well, I
right.
mean,
But Gary Holt's great. Gary
Holt,
Holt's fantastic.
Exodus, Gary Holt, fantastic guitarist, probably the best.
One of the funniest metalheads in the world. Every time I've ever seen him on a video, he's actually hilarious. Yeah. He's just always got jokes. He's always cheeky. He's a funny guy.
I mean, like, he got the gig, like, unfortunately, because Hanneman got sick, injured, and then obviously died. So Gary Holt had that gig. But for the back end of their career, they should have kept Dave Lombardo. But for some reason, him and Kerry had a fall together.
That whole Kerry feud. See, I had tickets to go see them at Luna Park with Anthrax opening for them. And then what I ended up with was Slayer with Charlie Benante playing both the Anthrax show and the Slayer show.
Was that Soundwave thing when they were both on there? Because that was John Dede, not Charlie Benante.
No, so this was after the Soundwave thing. They'd done tour for, it was just after World Painted Blood. And then they missed, so there was the Soundwave and they missed it.
Yeah.
And then they had a gig where it was Anthrax and Slayer at the Big Top.
Yeah.
And I went and seen them.
Was the drummer left-handed? Because I was pretty sure that was John Dede who did that. Who did both.
Okay. I remember it being Charlie Benante, but it might have...
Because when Anthrax and Slayer came out and there was the big incident at Soundwave where people were going, "Where's Dave? Where's Dave?" And Tom's like, "Dave's not here, man." And it was John Dede doing both.
Okay.
He was doing both Anthrax and...
It might have not been Charlie then. It might have been John. But it was the Anthrax drummer. So I've just assumed it's Charlie.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But he...
Yeah, I think you might be right there,
I
actually.
mean, because Scott Ian did a spoken word.
But either way, he had to do both sets, didn't he?
And that's a powerhouse thing to do.
Yeah, what a powerhouse. I'm going to play all of Anthrax.
I'm gonna do Anthrax.
Give me a breath for 5 minutes. All right, time to play Slayer.
I'm gonna do Anthrax, and I'm gonna do Slayer, and I'm gonna be a badass while doing it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, to do both of those sets would take some fucking stamina.
Like, even though...
I mean, Charlie could have done it, but I'm pretty sure it was John, because he's played in both Anthrax and Slayer in the 90s.
Yeah.
So there was, I think, a period where...
Even though he'd have a break in between, that's got to blow you out.
When Charlie has been sick, John has come in to play for Charlie, to fill in for tours. I mean, Anthrax aren't touring at the moment, even though Charlie's doing the Pantera stuff.
Yeah.
But that's because Scott's doing Mr. Bungle with Mike Patton, Dave Lombardo, and all those guys.
Yeah.
But whenever they've had an issue where Charlie's not been able to make it, John's been their go-to touring guy. And then I think what happened was for this, because they lost Dave and they couldn't get Paul Bostaph, they got John as well. So it's like, okay, Slayer and Anthrax are basically having the same drummer on the same festival dates for 6 months, for like 3 months or something.
Yeah. No, good times. So yeah, Eloy and Dave Lombardo, but you know what? Just quick drum talk on Bostaph. He's actually my favourite Slayer drummer. He always has been, ever since my favourite Slayer album, Divine Intervention. And the first song...
You'll be a fan of Kerry King's solo album.
Pardon?
You'll be a fan of Kerry King's solo album then.
Yeah, I am. I do dig it.
It's not Slayer though. And a lot of
it's not true Slayer. There's even punk songs on there. There's like punk songs on there. There's even like sort of like stoner doom metal songs on there.
I think that's Kerry going into his roots. Because like Slayer started out as a punk band.
They really did. Like even I've got the Undisputed Attitude album. Yeah. And it's fun. It actually opened me up to a whole lot of hardcore punk music that I didn't really listen to anything, being a young metalhead.
It's like Sod as well. Sod is sort of like that. That's Charlie Benante and I think Scott Ian from Anthrax doing almost like a hardcore band.
Stormtroopers of Doom.
I think that record is actually the first instance of blast beats.
Yeah.
It's like Charlie bringing blast beats into the popular.
Yeah, could be, actually.
But for me, knowing Charlie, I think that is an instance where what's happened with him is he's seen or heard other drummers doing that, and he's incorporated into his stuff because he's obviously he's probably seen these guys in like the lower echelons and at clubs or whatever in wherever they happen to be hanging out, whether it's New York or California or wherever. He's seen these guys doing this, and then he's brought this into this Stormtroopers of Death stuff, and he's done it, but because he's like popular up here, it gets seen by more eyeballs.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like everything. You look at all the stuff like it's like influence chains. It's like my favorite drummer is Portnoy. Well, his three main influences are Neil Peart, Ringo Starr, and Keith Moon.
Yeah.
And John, and I can't forget John Bonham. So there's the four big ones.
And then when we've got like our influences and that, this is where all different new musics come out of old musics and stuff. Like even my stuff I'm making is some like weird crossbreed between Slipknot and Tool, which are two bands who should not be combined.
Well, it's like you look at Dream Theater. They're like fans of Rush and Yes making music that sounds like Metallica.
Yeah.
And it's Yes kids who love Metallica. Like that's how John Petrucci describes it. It's like he says, "Oh, I've got it's like we're guys who love Rush and Yes, but we also love Metallica."
Yeah.
So you get really heavy riffs that have all these have all these time changes. And I mean, like Master of Puppets is in like 13/8, I think.
Yeah.
There's that bar that's like that stab part is in a different time signature.
I did not know that. See, because I just play it on guitar, but I'm not drumming it.
But it feels like it's in 4/4.
It does on a guitar. It feels like.
But
it's
when
in
you have
4/4.
to count it, it's not 4. Oh. It's like a bar of like 5/16 or something.
Yeah, okay. And you know what? They've probably just done that in the jamming process. But then when someone finally writes all the music down, they go, "Oh wow, look at this."
Yeah, people go, "I can't get this to fit in a chart. Why does it not line up properly?" And they're like, "Change the time signature." It's like discovering God for the first time.
So, just quickly touching on, so what do you think of Boss Staff? Like, he's my favourite, and my favourite song that he ever does is The Killing Fields. First track on Divine Intervention, and it just starts up with that.
Yeah. Well, I think, I look at Boss Staff as sort of like, he has to live in Lombardo's shadow.
He does, doesn't he?
It's like, when he came in and did Killing Fields, obviously, he's just showing that, okay, I can play as good as
That's what that was. It was sort of like a
statement. I can play as good as Dave Lombardo, give me a go. And he came in and made a statement.
It's almost like the same sort of statement in Priest that was made for
Scott
Travis
when he did Painkiller.
When he did Painkiller, it was like a statement, like, look what this drummer can do. I think that's what it was with The Killing Fields. It was like they went, first track, Boss Staff has to show off. Yeah.
And I mean, they might have been one of the songs they wrote later in the process, but it's like, okay, well, because this is like we're giving Boss Staff the thing, we'll put it first track on.
And for me, I'm born in the 80s, and Slayer was an 80s band, so albums like South of Heaven and Rain in Blood and Show No Mercy and all those albums, I do love them. I've got every Slayer album, but my favourite Slayer albums, being a 90s and a 2000s kid, are all of those weird Slayer albums that some people like. Some people don't like Diabolus of Musician, but I love Diabolus. My son, he steals it out of my collection all the time, and where's my Diabolus? And he's got it in his room listening to it. And it's like their new metal album. And my favourite Slayer album of all time is God Hates Us All. Because it's just, when it came out in 2000, and me and all my mates, like, some of my mates used to pick on me for listening to Slayer. They'd like, "Oh, Simmo, Slayer sucks." They'd yell it out across the playground just to like rub the dirt in me.
Slayer is one of those fan bases I've always sort of said, you don't want to piss them off. Because these are the guys that are going to carve Slayer into their arm.
I got in fights with people over Slayer, so I ended up punching someone out over it.
If you have an opinion on Slayer, just don't say it to Slayer fans.
Yeah, because Slayer fans will
if you're in a place where you're likely to get shanked, get shanked. Otherwise, you get punched in the face. Like, these are the guys that are hardcore that will carve Slayer into their face.
Yeah.
Like,
look inside the case for Divine Intervention.
You do not mess with these people.
No.
You can't.
I was a 13-year-old kid. My dad had taken me to go see Slayer and Machine Head live at the Horden Pavilion. And I'm there with my little Machine Head shirt on, and I'm like, yeah, Machine Head.
Yeah.
And this dude and his wife, he's just this massive, tall, 6-foot dude, long black hair, and he gets up in my face and he just goes, "Oi, little kid, Slayer! And it just sort of rubbed off on me. And I just stood there stunned like, oh,
Yeah, like,
what are you doing to me? And he says, ah! And then he walked off.
the Slayer fans are hardcore, and that's...
But it pumped it into me. And then I went home and I said to me, Dad, Machine Head are good, but Dad, I love Slayer now. I want to get all Slayer's albums. Yeah. And so I was a Slayer fan ever since.
But as I'm saying with the with Paul Bostaph, like, he's one of those guys that he flew under the radar a lot, but he's a very, very dedicated drummer. He practices a lot.
All my favourite Slayer albums, he's on them.
Yeah.
So
and he's a fantastic drummer. But again, he had to live in Dave Lombardo's shadow. Like, how do you top Angel of Death?
Yeah.
And then you get Killing Fields, which is kind of like him saying, "Well, I'm going to give you Angel of Death, but I'm going to do it my way,
and I'm going to do it right at the start of the song."
Yeah. And I'm like, when you see Slayer live, like, if you could see Dave just sit there pump a double kick for 5 minutes before he does that fill, but you're waiting for the
yeah.
You're just waiting for it, and it's like, it is one of those iconic moments in thrash metal.
He'll even keep it going longer for a while. Live, I've been there and it's like...
Yeah.
And you're waiting for it, and you're waiting. He just keeps it going for a bit.
To build that anticipation, and it goes, yeah, and then he does it.
Yeah, I love it.
I also do feel like Slayer are one of those bands that they went a little bit past their life expectancy too. Yeah. Like, they should have, after Hanneman had died, and they did that last tour, they shouldn't have done a new album. They should have just been like, we've done Hanneman's legacy. Yeah. It brought you the farewell of the band. Kerry's going to be doing some solo stuff. If you want to keep up to date with that. Yep. Kerry's. And he
could have probably started Repentless, like what would have been. It could have been the first Kerry King album. Yeah. And then the new one. What's the new one called? Something Irene, Darkness Irene or something. Yeah. So,
something like that. There's like, they could have, I reckon
that just goes to show how unmemorable.
Well, they could have ended on a higher note than they did.
Yeah.
And so people on that last Slayer tour were like, they're past it.
Yeah. It looked like Tom was just up there just going through the motions.
Yeah, Tom had it. And he's like, if I was Tom, I would have just said, look, you can tour all you want. You can go and play Slayer's music. I'm out. I'm done. Yeah. Because Tom looks haggard. He looked like he could barely keep up anymore. Yeah. And that's not an indictment of the band. That's just, like I said, I don't want to insult Slayer and I don't want to insult their fans. I'm just like, they feel like they kind of went a little bit past their expiry date. And that's how I feel about Metallica too. Yep. Metallica's sort of like at the point where they're like, I honestly think the genius of Lars from the 80s come about from the fact that he was on coke a lot of the time. Yeah. Like, you listen to him now and he can barely play. I'm like, did you practice at all? Maybe, but now you're not on coke anymore, and that's probably why you can't do it.
Yeah, so it's starting to just become boring.
But it's like, it's Metallica.
I feel like the last few albums have just went through the motions. Like, I do like 72 Seasons for what it is. But once again, it does feel like another album just going through the motions.
I saw footage recently of them doing Orion, and at the start of Orion, Lars could not hold the beat.
Oh, no. The most important song, that beat is like the staple of that song. And he's doing this that bass line.
He's doing this weird hi-hat thing, and I'm like, I can see James and Kirk visibly cringing.
Oh, no.
It's like, if I was James, I would have gone over and walked behind Lars and kicked him like he used to do in the 80s. Yeah. Like, he would go and spit on him if he couldn't keep time.
Yeah. Should be doing that now. Like, come on, Lars.
This is why I love Anthrax so much. They've stayed consistent. Same with Megadeth. But even though Megadeth have had like the revolving door of members.
But, geez, their sound has still stayed consistent. You know?
Yeah, it's like, even though I reckon if Dave had been able to afford to get Marty Friedman back for permanently, I reckon you would have got Rust in Peace too.
Yeah, okay, yep. And then like I remember there even being an Adler era to the Megadeth.
The Dystopia record was recorded by Chris Adler.
Ah, okay,
and then after that record was done, that's when Dirk Verbeuren joined. So the album subsequently after that. So Dirk Verbeuren, for people who don't know, is the drummer who used to be in Soilwork.
Ah, and I'm a big fan of Soilwork. I do like Soilwork. I have a few albums there, and I used to listen to them so much in the 2000s.
Yeah,
it was like motorbike riding music.
Apparently the guy who's playing in Soilwork now is one of Dirk's students.
Ah,
so he's
okay.
basically passed it to someone who's capable and who's good enough.
Yeah.
But watching, for me, one of the peak moments of joy I got was watching the Megadeth Life of Budokan.
Oh,
Where they got Marty
yeah.
Friedman to come out and play Tornado of Souls.
Ah, yep.
But what happened was the actual best bit of the show. Kiko and Dave stood to the back of the stage.
Oh.
And all Marty did was just do the now. He did his solo, and it was like watching Megadeth back in the 90s.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I'm like, that is, for me, again, like Slayer is probably what I would probably regard as the kings of thrash.
Yep.
But in terms of like the pioneering of like the melodic styles of heavy metal,
Yeah.
you've got to look at Megadeth.
Yeah.
Because that Rust in Peace record, it's thrashy, it's heavy.
Yep.
But there's melodic elements on there.
And even all of their 90s stuff. And
Euthanasia.
Yep. That's actually my favourite Megadeth album of all time, is Euthanasia.
And there's a lot of Marty Friedman stuff on there.
And I love Cryptic Writings as well, because it's got She-Wolf on it. And She-Wolf is one of the baddest songs ever. If you've ever seen Rude Awakening, they play like a super extended version of She-Wolf, and it just goes for like nearly 15 minutes.
With that as well.
It has a drum solo as well.
But with Marty Friedman and that particular solo, I view the Tornado of Souls solo by Marty Friedman as what would be the Comfortably Numb of heavy metal.
Oh, yeah.
Comfortably Numb, the second guitar solo by David Gilmour in that, is iconic in terms of feel. How it makes you feel.
It's the most known song, like whenever I talk to people about Pink Floyd.
That one.
Comfortably Numb.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, that solo by Marty is the heavy metal equivalent of that. Because it makes you feel a certain way. You feel joy when you hear it.
Yeah.
It gets you inspired. It's like, you hear it and you're like, this is great.
Yeah.
Can we get more solos like this? It's like I said, I like shred. I like super fast, super technical stuff. I'm a big John Petrucci fan. He's probably the master of that.
Yeah.
But when he does the Under a Glass Moon solo, which is his which is Petrucci's most iconic guitar solo.
Yep.
It's melodic. It's feel. It's him just
and lots of those bends and stuff.
It's his enunciation. It's how he plays it. It's not just what he's playing, it's how he's playing.
It's how he's getting that guitar to phrase.
It's like, and you can tell listening to John Petrucci, one of his favourite guitarists is David Gilmour from that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like he was saying in interviews, like, one of my favourite guitarists is David Gilmour.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can see why. It's because of what David Gilmour is able to, it's the expressiveness in the instrument.
Yeah.
And that goes back into like me with drums. I want to be able to
and you really feel it when you're playing in your band.
I want to be able to properly express myself
through that instrument.
So
let's say you're not necessarily a singer, but to you, that's your singing.
Yeah.
That's how you voice.
That's the thing. Like, I tune my drums a certain way because I want the wood and the drums.
I'd love to hear about what those tunings are, actually.
Well,
hit us with that.
So I tune my drums so they're... A lot of metal guys tune their drums so they're like super dead, so there's not much resonance. So when you hit the drum, you get like a dum.
Yeah.
And you get
I think that's what I've got tuned down there. I had a mate help me out with the kit that I've got downstairs, and apparently every skin is just tuned to C.
Yeah.
So.
But I don't tune my drums to a note. I want to do mine by ear and by.
That's even more interesting.
I even tension the head, so I make sure the head's got even tension, and then I'm meticulous with how it takes me. It takes me a whole day to change the heads on my kit because I'm so meticulous with how.
And then like if it's just the tiniest bit out, you'll like lift it back off.
And then I do them in the cases. So I pull them. I can't set the drums up a lot of where I live.
Yep.
And because I've only got the one drum kit, I've got to be able to go for band practices and stuff. So when I've got a weekend off, I'll set my drums up on Friday night. I'll play Saturday, Sunday. And then Sunday afternoon, I'll pull the drums down again for the week of band practices or whatever. So I don't have a lot of time to actually. I have an electric kit to actually play.
Oh, okay, yep.
And this is part of the reason why Dean and Matt love me in Age of Emergence, is because I'm probably the first drummer they've had who actually practices a lot.
Yep.
So that's nothing against Ben and nothing against Alan Hofer, who used to play in them as well. Apparently, according to Matt, neither of those guys really practiced.
Okay, fair enough.
But Al was a great dude, because I say that because he died a couple of years back.
Oh,
so he was a drummer from Chord Logic. He's been in a lot of stuff around the years, and he knew he was dying, and he was reaching out to his friends, saying his goodbyes and everything like that. And he was a fantastic guy, phenomenal drummer. Probably one of the loudest drummers I've heard, and that's just because of the gear he used.
Yeah, okay, so it was really resonant sort of gear.
But with Ben as well, he's got a very aggressive style. So when I'm playing his stuff, I have to hit a little bit harder.
So that's the first album? The first full length?
I think the first full length might have Alan on it,
okay.
And the second one has Ben.
Because I actually just want to say, I've been doing some research, having a really good listen to yours, and I'm really, really enjoying the new EP.
Which is myself.
Yeah, so, but I also really dug into that first album, and I really dug that as well. But with the second EP, I can just see so much growth.
Yeah.
So it's so awesome.
And
I just accidentally sort of keep coming back to that EP because it just sounds so good.
It's the growth in how Dean and Matt are also...
Oh, they are connecting. All the stuff they do on guitar and Dean's voice. So let's talk a little bit about Age of Emergence for 10 minutes.
I want to go back into like the tuning stuff. So.
All right, yeah, let's go back to the tuning stuff. We'll come back to that.
I delved into something a little bit before.
Talking about that tuning.
Yeah. So the way that I've got my drums set up is not a lot like what a lot of metal guys have. Like I was saying, they have a bit of a dead sort of. You get the initial note, but you don't get any sustain.
Yeah, okay.
My drums have sustain, so that when you play each drum, each other drum kind of rings with it.
Oh, so you get an actual note sort of bleeding into another note. Was taught about this at TAFE, and it can be a really good thing.
So what happens is, like, you play a guitar, right? And you play a chord, but you don't play every string. But every string is still vibrating, because it's the tension on the neck, it's the way the strings are played, but every string vibrates. It should be this. I treat drums the same way.
You're treating it like a guitar. That's
I
cool.
don't necessarily treat it like a guitar. I treat the drum kit as a complete instrument.
Yep.
So each piece might be its own separate instrument, but you have
each piece is like a string on the guitar.
But you have to bring each piece together to make a complete instrument.
Yeah.
So I have a 10-piece kit. Well, technically 11 if I add my side snare.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've got 2 octobans, I've got the 3 rack toms, the 2 floor toms, the 2 kick drums.
I'm going to be putting some photos in for you all to see this at the end, guys, so you can see Adam's setup.
You have a kick, I hit my kick drum, my floor toms resonate.
Yep.
I hit one of my rack toms, the other 2 rack toms resonate. So when I do a big roll down the kit, by the time I get to the 16-inch tom, the 16-inch is already sort of, it's been agitated. It's making noise. But it doesn't make noticeable noise unless you've got a microphone on it.
Okay.
So when you record my kit...
There might be a bit of bleed.
It's more like the drums are vibrating and they will produce a tone, maybe into the mic, maybe not. But if you gate the mic, you won't get it.
So you got to really use some gating techniques and stuff like that.
But when you hit the drums and you hit them as a complete... As like I can play sort of like notes and chords on my drum kit by hitting 2 things at once. So in Punctured, there's a section in... Twisted Heart, which is one of our singles, where I do an ascending dun 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 dun, but you can hear the tone shift all the way up the drums.
Yep. I'm going to check out Punctured a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm
using that more as an example.
What genre is Punctured?
It's sort of like hard rock.
All right, sweet. I've got to check out Punctured.
Sort of like punk, thrash.
Yeah, all right, sweet. I'll check that out later.
So I do an ascending thing up the toms,
yep.
And when you hear that, you can hear the notes. And even at the start of that song, I'm hitting the 2 floor toms in sync with the kick drums. So it's like a doom, doom. And when I was listening to that recorded, there was like not a lot of stuff done with the mics, and they sounded monstrous.
Yeah.
So
I've even noticed that your drums are sounding monstrous on that EP. That's the word. His drums sound monstrous.
The kit also looks monstrous too.
It does. Wait till you see a picture of it. I'll put it all up at the end.
But one of the downsides of that though is that in certain rooms it can come across as really loud. So when people go, "Oh, I'm one of the loudest drummers in Newcastle," like, I don't hit that hard. I'm not Dave Grohl. I'm not Eloy Casagrande. I don't whack the drums.
Not a hard hitter.
I don't whack the drums with significant velocity, but it's like a Simon Phillips approach. You whack them with intent. So you want the drum to have the note that you want, so you have to hit the drum a certain way.
Yep.
And with the snare drum in particular, it's like you can bring your hand up above your head and then whack it. But drums only get so much before they start to choke themselves out, so you can overhit them.
Well, I used to have a drummer named Matty Woods.
Yeah.
He drummed around here for a band called the Zillas.
Yeah.
He used to be in a Villain's Embrace with us, and he was a real hard hitter to the point where sometimes we'd even have skins broken on stage, and then we'd do like a little like guitar medley for like a minute or two while he quickly put a new skin on.
Yeah.
But he was such a hard hitter that he was like blowing drums out, man.
I've taken the
Which was sort of cool.
Yeah. Because I have a few snare drums, I've started taking 2 to gigs just in case I have an issue with one that can't be fixed quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just get the other one out. That way I'm not, it's like it takes a minute to change snare drum.
Yeah.
And you see when you go see even someone like Daddy Carey, he'll blow a snare side head out or blow the top head out, and then you've got to quickly change drums. His drum tech comes over, changes the snare. So I do that, I have a lot of that stuff live. But my live drum sound can be considered very loud because it is a complete instrument and I'm treating it as such. So when I hit one thing, it sounds big.
Yeah.
Which can be beneficial for small rooms because it just means you don't have to mic the drums. You just hit
So
them
have you ever done many gigs where like anyone's went, we barely have to mic this, maybe a snare and a bass mic?
Last night at Mosh Pit Bar actually. So I took my
whole... Oh really?
Yeah, I took my whole kit and it was kind of a smallish room and the guy was kind of like, sound guys when they see a kit like mine, they get ants in their pants.
Yeah, I would too. I have been a sound guy in the past.
There's a video,
and I would be, I would be.
There is a
myself.
Facebook, Instagram reel by a guy called the Cowboy Drummer, where it's like sound guys when you bring a 9-piece drum kit. I'm like, I'm the mean. I took my, and this was a prog rock night. So like the other bands, Gravity Stone, Halcyon Rain, and T-Rex Autopsy, were all like prog bands. I'm like, the in-house kit was a 4-piece. I'm like, you don't use a 4-piece kit for prog.
No.
As much as 4-piece kits like Ringo kits are great, this is a prog night. You want a 10-piece kit. I didn't set up one of the kick drums, but he basically just put a mic in the kick and put 2 overheads. Drum sounded huge. Didn't even need a snare mic.
There you go. So with the right tuning and the right sort of resonance that you're getting, it just sounds big on its own.
If you're going in obviously bigger rooms or arenas, you're still going to need to mic it because it can only carry so far. And when you then pack out and have like thousands of people in front of you, sound travels and then it hits people and stops. So
on a festival stage, it'll be a whole different story.
So obviously if I was on a festival stage, the whole thing would be mic'd up and you'd be pumping so the people in the back 100 meters away can still hear you.
They can hear all of those drums,
Which is what you want. So you go to somewhere like Download or Varkin, you're not up the front.
Yeah.
But you have to still hear them from like half a mile away.
Yeah, half a mile away. That's right. So
and that's why the festivals have the big PAs and everything, so they can project that sound out for people.
Yeah.
But so I had that advantage in sort of smallish rooms. Like I play at the Hamo, we would pack out the front room or the back room of the Hamo.
Yep.
Put a couple of mics on the kick, just so the kick doesn't get lost in the mix. Put a couple of overheads on. Drums will sound fantastic out front.
Yep.
And then the guys on stage can hear it because it's a loud enough kit anyway.
Yeah, man.
And you laugh. And I've used that kit at the Wicco. The sound guy said, we're just going to mic up the kicks. Your drums are really loud. We're not going to need to put it in.
Yeah, okay.
And the Wicco's also a really small room too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got like...
Actually, I know the guy who does the sound at the Wicco. Keaton. He's a legend.
He works with...
Shout out to Keaton.
He works with us at Big Apache.
Yeah, he's a legend.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He was the one who actually said that. And I go help him out from time to time when he's got at the Wicco. So I'll take over some of my gear if he needs anything.
Yeah, awesome.
But yeah, so I treat the drum kit like a complete instrument, which is it it is beneficial to be able to do that, because that way when you want to create music, you can create music. It's like Terry Bozzio, he does intricate drum solos on his kit, and if you've ever seen Terry Bozzio's kit, it's like 10 bass drums.
I've seen the meme too, where it has it all stacked up to like 30 bass drums and stuff, and it's like he's on a tower.
Yeah, it's like he is, but Terry is also very musical, so his drums play notes.
Yeah, so they are noted drums.
Yeah.
Yep, alright.
Whereas I don't tune mine to a note, I tune them to the sound that I like.
Yeah, awesome.
So, like I said, my favourite, the drum sound that I want is the Black Cloud Silver Lining sound, which is the last Dream Theater record that Portnoy was on.
Yep.
The drum sounds on that are kind of like, if I can get that in a live room without mics, man.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for, particularly with the kick
sound.
Particularly with the kick sound. And I feel like I'm when I've got fresh heads and I've got new skins and everything on the kit, I'm there. And it's like, I'm like, I love my instrument to the point of basically lunacy. It's like...
Yeah. I can tell. Yeah. So, this guy, all of his Facebook stuff is just pictures of his beautiful drum kit.
Well...
Just profile pictures of drum kits, banners of drum kits. That drum kit is like his partner.
Yeah. Because, I mean, unfortunately, I don't have a girlfriend. I'm not married. I don't have kids.
So he puts his life into that drum kit.
So, being the guy that I am, I want to sink my money into a passion.
Yeah, that's an awesome passion, dude.
If I had a girlfriend, I'd probably spend less money on my drums and more money on her.
Yeah.
I'd spend more time on her than I would on my drums.
Once I got a wife, less time on the music, more time on the family.
Yeah, so that's sort of how I've viewed it. It's like,
I have heard Jason Newsted say that once. He's like, I didn't have children, I produced music. Yeah. That's my children.
So, and that's how I sort of view all the stuff that I've done over the last few years with Punctured and with Age of Emergence. It's sort of...
Is there any other old projects that you got out there, or anything else that anyone can hear you
nothing that I've recorded.
Okay.
Unfortunately, nothing that I've recorded. So, I've been in a lot of bands over the years. I've worked with Danny Jackson. I've worked with heaps of... Danny Jackson's probably the most well-known one. So I've worked with a heap of guys. I've done heaps of projects. I've started bands, been kicked out of bands, lost.
Haven't we all?
Yeah. And it's mostly just because, like, so you join metal bands. They all want to do like blast beat stuff. I'm not the blast beat guy. You don't come to me for blast beats. You come to me for
a groove.
You more come to me for like odd times.
Yeah, odd
groove.
times.
I can play a bit of thrash. And I like power metal. I'm not a blazing fast double bass guy. Like, one of my most recent influences is Scott Buchanan, who's the drummer for Unleash the Archers.
Oh, okay, yep, I have heard of Unleash the Archers.
He uses a very, very small... He uses a 4-piece drum kit.
Yep.
So I'm learning a couple of his songs off the latest album.
Yep.
Because just to test myself. I'll put YouTube covers up. And most of the time it's just for me to be able to try and test my abilities.
Those. I've been checking some of those out.
So for me, it's to test my abilities. With the way Scott Buchanan plays, I have to try and replicate his sounds with my kit my way. So there's a song that's called Ghosts in the Mist off the last record. He's playing 16th notes on the hi-hat, but he's doing with his feet underneath.
Yep.
My closed hat is on my right side.
Yep.
And in order to do the 16th, I have to left-hand lead. I'm not doing it that way. I'm holding my foot down on the hi-hat pedal on my left side, and then doing the triple with my right foot. So, like...
Yep. Wow.
And doing that. And that's a way for me to test myself to try and faithfully recreate someone else's drum part with my style.
Yeah, that's awesome though. But you're also incorporating it in what feels comfortable for you.
And I mean, I could probably play all his stuff on a 4-piece kit on a setup like his anyway. But I'm like, for me, it's like, what's the point in that at that point?
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather just play my style, do my thing, and if I get seen for doing it the way that I'm doing it, then fantastic. It's like with Age of Emergence. Right?
Yep.
So when I did the audition and came in and did that, they liked my style, they liked my attitude, they liked how my drums sounded.
Yeah, awesome.
And we've obviously been doing an East Coast tour, like we did Sydney last night. We've been to Victoria. We've been
awesome.
We've done Wollongong and Canberra. We're doing Brisbane and Bundaberg at the end of the month.
Did you want to let everyone know about some more that are coming up? Yeah.
So the last 2 dates that we've got currently on the All Seeing Eye tour are.
I'll put some Age of Emergence details in the description, guys.
It's the 28th of this month, June, in Brisbane.
Yep.
And the 29th at Bundaberg. I have to pull up the actual dates on the actual venues on my phone.
Yep.
But you get access to them on the Age of Emergence Facebook page. All the information's there. But I joined the band in October of last year, and these guys have given me the opportunity to basically do something that I wouldn't have thought I would have done 12 months ago.
That's awesome, bro.
I've gone through serious depression. I've alive myself a couple of times because I had people who I trusted who ended up driving knives into my back. And I'm a very open and I'm a very trusting person, and I also
we're all about openness on this channel.
Yeah, and I love who I love, and I do the things that I do for reasons that make sense to me, but may not make sense to other people. But the guys in Age of Emergence have taken a gamble on me with the way my mental health, even with the way my mental health was at the end of last year.
That is awesome of Maddie and Dean and all those guys.
And have given me the opportunity to participate
Much love, guys.
To participate in a tour. Through them and through music has kept me alive, and it's also through...
That's rad, man.
It's also through...
That's so good.
And I feel like music can, in a way, bring back what I've lost.
Yeah.
And in a way, what I drove away.
Even my recent music I've released, it's a solo recording project, but I released it just to cathartically get this music out of me that's been locked up inside of me. And I say to people, I make music. Oh, yes, where can I hear that?
It's because you want to get something out there. You want to just express yourself. And Matt and Dean have given me the opportunity to do that, as well as Michael from Black Rose Entertainment. Like he's the booker.
Yeah, awesome.
He's the agent for Age of Emergence. He's given us these dates, and it's through those guys that I've been given the opportunity to be able to do what I'm currently doing.
I want to come out and see some shows soon.
I wouldn't have. Well, we've got one that we're lining up in September.
Awesome, so perfect. That's around the time of my birthday.
When we get dates for that, I'll forward you a link. If you want, I'll put you on the door.
Awesome. Hey, I could film some footage, and we could actually do a bit of a
10-minute band interview or whatever.
And a bit of footage of you guys playing live.
And it'll be a way to actually see my kid in person too.
Yeah, I could literally take the selfie stick with me and just sort of film some of the show.
So they've given me the opportunity to do this, and music has been one of the things that have kept me alive, as well as my love for the things that I've lost. It's like if I was to have ceased to be, as it were, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do this.
No.
And like I said, I'm thankful to Matt and Dean for giving me something back that I needed.
Yeah.
Music has, and my dad pushed me with this as well. Like my dad has been so patient, and so he's been stern, but he's also been patient. He's been loving, and as has my mom. Yeah,
okay. That sounds like my mum and dad. When I went through some troubles about 5 years ago, mum and dad were stern, but they were very helpful.
So they were disappointed. My dad was ultimately disappointed in me because it's like I was willing to throw away music for something that I felt was more important.
Yeah,
but it's through being able to reconnect with music that I've realised that music is actually more important.
It is so important.
Music has kept me alive. It's kept me going.
And you're doing your videos now,
and everything.
You're getting views on those too,
everything that I do now, it's because I
love your work.
I hope that at some point it'll reunite me with that which I've lost, and hopefully I will be able to reconnect with something that is more important to me than anything else in the world, except in line with music. So music is basically my focus. I work really hard at my job, my day job, in order to be able to fund being able to do music. So that way I can keep myself. I'm not well off. I live in a rental with a housemate. I share. I'm not a wealthy individual by any stretch of the imagination.
Yep, sounds like me. I'm here with my family, living on $500 a fortnight from the government.
I have debts. I have stuff I've got to cover, but I can put my money and my hard work into music, and that will at least get me through to the next day.
Yep.
And for me, it was always like with music, when I lost regular gig work, it no longer gave me that thing to focus on at the end of the week.
Yeah.
But Matt and Dean have given me that back. So
You've got
all
that
these
back.
all
That's
these Age
so
of Emergence
awesome.
states, it's like I focus on that.
Yep.
That's the end goal. That's the point
And
that I need
now,
to get to.
I see your Facebook and it's your drum kit. It's your live photos of you playing. And that is the awesomest shit to be proud of, man.
Yeah.
Like, what else would you put as your profile pic other than that if this is what you're doing in life, eh? Like, so proud of that, man. That is so awesome to know. I didn't know that had actually pulled you out of some things in life and really helped you out. So that's awesome, and thanks to Age of Emergence.
Well, that's why I think that Punctured did as well. Like,
And Punctured.
I can't thank Glenn enough. Like, Glenn he's been there for me. He's the guitarist and singer of Punctured. He's been there for me through a lot of this stuff, and he's seen what I've been going through, and he's been going through some of the stuff himself.
Yeah, okay.
Like we've basically sort of been able to bond over, like, just mutual, I would say, grief, as it were.
Yep.
So we've sort of, like, our music is our music. It is what we strive to do. It is what is keeping us going.
Yep.
And, you know, I thank
my music's super important to me.
So I thank all the guys that I'm lucky enough to work with right now about this. I admit, I'm the first to admit that I have done some distasteful things in my past. But,
so did I.
I don't want people to be there judging me based on actions that I did when I was 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, I feel you, man.
Or mistakes that I made when I was naive enough and lacked wisdom and awareness. I can look back on my life with 2020 hindsight and go, maybe I shouldn't have done that, maybe I should have done this differently, maybe I should have been this sort of person instead of the person that I was when I was a kid. But for now, it's like, for the last 10 years of my life, I've always tried to strive to be a better person. I've always strived to be a good person, an honest person.
That's the vibe I've always got from you at work.
Person. Like, I don't.
This guy kicks ass at work. When we're there putting stages together and sets together and we're moving backline around, like, I actually look at this guy like, what are we doing, Adam? Like, you know this better than me, man.
I don't like to lie. I always try to tell the truth.
Yeah, that's super important
and
to me.
And it's like,
too.
if people are going to sit there and say, oh, you don't really mean that, I'm like, no, I do. You can look me in the eye and you can see, when I say something, it's not I'm trying to bullshit you, it's because I genuinely believe that to be the truth. It may not be the truth, but it's what I genuinely believe to be the truth.
Yeah.
So I don't intend to actively go out and lie to people. And I say this in regards to, like, political debates I have with people. So I believe the things that I believe for reasons that are my own.
Yep.
And everyone has their political beliefs, and I'm not going to sit there and call you a filthy communist if you believe in wealth distribution.
Yeah, I'm not getting into political too much on this channel.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to belittle people's political opinions. I'm like, I want to basically just go out and do my thing, be left alone, and be the person that I want to be.
And be able to put your art out there.
And I can do that through music, and I can be the person that I believe that I am through music.
You totally can, man, and I've seen it too.
And that's why I thank Matt and Dean for giving me the opportunity to do the tour that we've been doing.
Yep.
To create the music that we've created.
Yep.
Like, the All Seeing IEP is probably, like, it is one of the, probably my, like, at this point in time, we've only recorded like 6 songs, but it's like the defining stuff that I've done.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
if you want to show someone like your drum style, that would be something that you show them first.
You want to hear what I'm about musically, you listen to that, and that is basically the culmination of years worth of hard work in perfecting my craft, perfecting my instrument. Well, not perfecting, but striving to be better at everything that I do. And that includes the life balance too. Like, I'm trying to be better in life so that I can focus that positivity into being better at music.
This is awesome, man. This is awesome.
And it's like these are the sorts of things that, like, it's like with younger musicians, it's like you might get intimidated by the scene, you might get intimidated by people within the scene, and you might not be having the best day. But at the end of the day, you can come back and you can play music and you can put a smile on people's face, and that should be what's important. And if you focus and strive to be as good as you can at what you want to do within the context of music, you practice, you work hard, put in the effort, you'll get that effort back. It's not going to be instant gratification.
No, it's music, a slow burn.
Music is one of those things where it's like, at the start, you suck. And then you play for 10 years, and you wake up and go, I still suck. But you're better than you were 10 years ago.
It's taken me 5 years to build my albums, my 2 EPs. 2 EPs. 5 years of, like, composing, and I actually made every single thing myself. So it's all layered, and it's all me every single time. It's like some sort of Stevie Wonder album where I play every instrument. But I feel you. You put art out into the world, and it's going to be a slow burn. It's not going to come straight away.
It's even the same thing. It's even the same thing just in general with learning music itself in general. So like at the very start, when you pick up a pair of drumsticks, if you're a young kid out there and you want to pick up a pair of drumsticks, know that you aren't going to just be good. It's going to take you time in order to be able to get to the point where you can then start playing songs. Once you get the basics down, and then you can start playing along to Beat It by Michael Jackson, some of the most basic pop and rock songs. Once you then start playing along with music, you then start feeling like you're making music. And then you just keep pushing to get better and better and better.
Awesome.
And as you develop the skills, you can then start making your own music. It's a very, very long and very, very arduous process. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of heartache, and there's a lot of days where you wake up feeling like you suck. Those feelings never go away. Even the best drummers in the world wake up and go, I want to be better than I was yesterday. These are guys like the Dave Weckels of the world, the Vinnie Colaiutas of the world, the Steve Gadds of the world. These are the guys that have done session work for so many different people all over the last like 40 years. These are like the guys that would be considered the best of the best of the best at this instrument.
And then even when you release your most definitive work, there's more definitive works to come. You can work towards that next best definitive work.
So you look at, like, maybe you think Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven is kind of their opus maximus.
But
had they kept going as a band and had Bonzo not died, within 10 years of that, they probably would have come up with something a lot better. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see where that would go.
No, that's right. Some of those bands sort of end in their peak too, don't they?
And this is why I feel bad about what happened with Joey. Joey Jordison. Had he been given the opportunity to come back to Slipknot, I believe he would have topped the work that he had done on the first album in Iowa. He would have come out with a furious vengeance and been out there smashing it, killing it, and you would have thought, where the fuck has this guy been?
Where has he been?
And that's why I'm keen to see Portnoy back in Dream Theater. I don't ever want to see, like, Portnoy said it a long time ago. It's like, I'm disappointed that we never got to see the Beatles get back together. Because you should never say never. You should do something like that for the fans. Me as a fan of Dream Theater, I'm super happy that I get to see my favorite Dream Theater lineup make another record. And I know it's going to be their opus maximus for now. It is taking that long to produce, that long to make. The effort when it comes out, I'm going to instantly hear because as soon as the announcement was made, it was in October. They were recording the new album in November.
Was straight on to that. This has been going
since November of last year. They haven't even done a show yet.
Wow.
Their first show is in October of this year at the O2 Arena in London. Now, people were saying they should have done it in New York, but they were, for logistical reasons, they just couldn't. So the very first Dream Theater show back with Mike Portnoy is not in New York City where you would expect it to be. It's at the O2 Arena in London. That show is sold out. You cannot get tickets. Everyone from all over the world wants to see the first Dream Theater show back. And this is part of the reason why, like, you should always, as a musician, strive to be better than you were yesterday. because if you can repair bridges with friends that you've worked with before, you can then start making music with them again. And that's always the goal. That's always the goal to take. And it's always like never say never. It's like, again, a lot of people would have loved to have seen the Beatles reform in the late 70s to make another record. We unfortunately didn't get it.
Like, my son actually said something to me the other day. His favourite band in the whole world is Rage Against the Machine. He looks up at me, he's 10 years old, and he goes, Dad, is Rage Against the Machine ever going to get back together? And I had to answer him the sad question that, they were just, there was a whole heap of stuff said by...
Tom Morello?
No, by Tim, the bass player, saying that we will never do it again. We're overdoing the festival reunion shows.
They must have done those, and they got paid a crap ton of money for it. And they obviously couldn't put the animosity aside.
Yeah, I think that's and there's things where there's different political views inside the camp. Yeah. Oh, what are we going to do now?
It's the same thing with System of a Down.
Yeah.
Like, the System of a Down guys. Like,
they've got some different political views going on inside the camp,
and it's like,
which makes it chaos.
And the nature of modern society is you've got that political division, and it's a hardcore political division that a lot of people don't want to be associated with people of the other side.
Yeah, and I'm not, that's why I don't want to bring too much political stuff into this channel.
Yeah, so. And it's like, you leave that stuff alone. And you don't, and you if you've got a political opinion and you're in a band, you try and, I'm public with mine. People know what my political opinions are. That's perfectly acceptable. But if you're in a big band like that and you make a polarizing opinion, you know that you're going to alienate half your fan base.
Yeah.
So you should just avoid doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't agree with Mike Portnoy's politics. He's still my favourite drummer. He's still one of my favourite musicians. I've met the guy a couple of times.
Yeah, actually, I've seen your photos with Mike.
I got one of my signature model snare drums of his signed.
Yeah, that's rad. I'd love to see that sometime.
Send
us a picture of that.
That's the Bavinga model. So
yeah, mad.
But yeah, it's like I still like his music, but I'm one of those people who can put aside my differences of his politics.
Yep.
Because I enjoy his music so much.
Yeah, okay.
And his music means so much to me that he could come out and be the most raging, whatever you can think of.
Yep.
I'm still going to listen to his music because it's fantastic music choice. and like it's like that, and that's like he said with the Dream Theater stuff. It's like he within a couple of years, they basically said no. We're not going to get back together. It's not going to happen. Then it goes on, and then all of a sudden opinions start to change.
Yeah.
2020 comes around. Portnoy records on the Petrucci solo record, which means that bridge has been repaired.
Whoa.
They then do Liquid Tension Experiment with Jordan. But Portnoy and Jordan were always still friends.
So that...
Yeah. Then they did the Mean Streak. Then when the solo tour did the Mean Streak thing, he obviously reconnected with John Mayong because Martin Mayong, his wife, is I think the bass player for Mean Streak.
Oh, okay.
So he reunited and rekindled. The last piece of the puzzle was James LeBrie. They were doing a show in Pennsylvania, and immediately upon release of the photo of Portnoy and James, the rumor mill started to spread.
Oh.
They're like, it's happening! He's coming back! And apparently, and they kept on putting it to bed. The Mangini fans were like, no, it's never happening. And then, at the end of that tour cycle, it was announced that Mike Portnoy was coming back to Dream Theater.
There it is.
And in that instance, they made so many fans happy. And that's part of the reason why I would have loved to have seen Joey come back to Slipknot.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. This was a
as
thing
good as
that
Eloy is, as great as Eloy is.
I was expecting something around the time of Michael Pfaff. Is what happened was around that time when they had the replacement for Chris Fane. When they had the replacement for Chris Fane, I was like, I was on this hype train of, all right, well, if Joey can't play the drum kit, put him on the percussion.
Yeah.
Put him on the percussion. Have him on the other side of Clown. That could have been super interesting, and it might have actually brought Joey into some whole nother world of drumming.
The thing is, Joey could still play drums.
Yeah.
People don't know about Vimic.
I like Vimic, actually. I had a good listen.
Sinsanum is a death metal record.
Sinsanum is the best. It's so... Yeah, I actually did have a
That's-
fairly good listen to
That's
Sin
classic
Sanum.
Joey, and I think the issue that
Sin
Joey
Sanum
had-
was so heavy.
yeah.
Yeah, and the guys of Sin Sanum, I think they're continuing, but they're it does suck. It sucks for their whole band.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But it's
I
like-
think they are continuing,
I think
because Joey would have wanted them to.
Joey's issue was that unlike a lot of the other guys in Slipknot, he refused to go to rehab.
Yeah, and that was one of the things where
he had this paralysis thing where he developed paralysis in his leg and he
yep,
couldn't
in the
play.
spinal cord.
It took him 3 or 4 years to be able to get back to a point where he could even play again.
Yep.
But by then, Jay was well and truly tenured in Slipknot, and you can't just get rid of him even if Joey wanted to come back.
Yeah.
But I think Joey was still into the drugs, and Corey obviously didn't want to be around that.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. I mean, Corey probably relapsed on his own anyway, but it's like if Joey's going to bring that negativity into Slipknot, can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Had Joey got clean, he might have come back. But unfortunately, we lost one of the greatest modern metal drummers of all time.
Yeah, because I did hear near the end from some of the Sin Sanum fellas, they just very reluctantly said there was drugs and alcohol involved towards the end. Things were getting messy. So that's a bummer. So we love you, Joey, and that is a shame that we never got to see the king of Slipknot return to the
But
kit.
that could have also been a depression factor too.
Yeah, and there was also factors too where he was carrying a lot of hurt from the fact that the band did
Decide to continue without him.
and then he for years was like, well, if they ever hear me,
Yeah.
I would love to come back.
Yeah.
He was like saying it over and over again, and it would usually fall on deaf ears,
He
which
had
is sort of sad.
this level of resentment over the fact that they wouldn't give him the time to recover. It's like, in a way, it's very similar to the Portnoy situation with Dream Theater. Portnoy wanted to take a hiatus so that they could. He felt like the album tour cycle was starting to get a bit stale. So what he wanted to do was he wanted to take a break from that, so they could write music and spend time writing music a different way, and then come back refreshed, put together what they come up with.
Yep.
And then it'd be the biggest reunion ever. Like
Yeah.
Dream Theater goes on hiatus for 5 years, come back after 5 years, record an album. Oh, all of a sudden Dream Theater's back in the news. Like,
Yeah.
do that sort of thing. But that didn't happen.
No.
Petrucci didn't want to stop, neither did James, neither did the other guy. So Portnoy's just like, well, I have to go.
Yeah. Sorry, dudes.
Because he was burnt out by it. And more people don't factor into that too, is Portnoy was also running the band. He was doing all the bookings and stuff.
So he had a lot to do with business.
Yeah.
He had a lot to do with the business stuff.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he had a lot of that going on.
Yeah. So, just to sort of wrap things up for the afternoon, is there anything more that you want to say that might be coming up in the future from some of your bands?
Well, Punctured are doing the Passport to Airlie at the Stag in July.
I have heard about the Passport to Airlie, so that is rad. I will even try and see if I can make that.
And we're waiting on, and Punctured are also waiting on confirmation for a gig in August at the Stag and Hunter.
Yep.
Where we got offered a gig through Nomad Promotions or Productions or whatever it was, and we said, yeah, we can do it. So that's in August. We're waiting to hear confirmation of the date. Actually, I think the date's been confirmed. We're just waiting on confirmation of the actual show.
All right, cool.
And Age of Emergence have a couple of things lined up towards the end of the year.
Yep, awesome.
We've got a gig in September. Michael from Black Ruse is trying to get us some more stuff in and around Newcastle.
I'll try and put some of this in the description, guys.
Yeah. So we've got all that sort of coming up. Not a lot's been confirmed. I've just got some rough dates of what might be happening, where they're happening, so I can lock them out of my calendar. Because I get called up to do cover work too. So
Yeah, okay, so you
I
do
have
some
to-
session stuff
I
as
have
well.
to. I have to free my. Well, I do cover work because it's like I like to play music.
And then-
it's the Garth me. It's like I like to play.
Yeah.
So
I like
when
to
I
play.
cover ding. So when when I get offers to do cover gigs, it's a way for me to be able to say, yes, I get to do a 3-hour gig playing cover songs.
Yeah, awesome fun.
Not too difficult, and I get a payday at the end of it.
Yeah, right.
So it's like I make a bit of extra money on the side. It's not about the money though, it's about just playing. Like,
yeah, it's just having the fun of it. Yeah.
Anytime, I'm at the point now in my life and my career with music that it's like, anyone offers me something, I'm not, how much? I'm like, when is it?
Yeah, that's awesome. That is a great
so
attitude.
I'm like,
look at this guy. When is it? I love that.
Why would I want to do stuff for money when if I'm gonna boil down music to a commodity and so well, what am I gonna get out of it? It's like no. I don't the financial aspect out of it. What I get out of it is my enjoyment of playing music.
Yep.
So that's why I'm just like, where is it? When is it? What do I need to know for what is
and that's how we sort of respond to like our big Apache gigs and stuff like that too. Like one of those comes up and we're going to move backline or be stagehands and it's like, when is it?
Yeah.
Can I do it?
Yeah.
You know, it's not even about like, I'm not turning to my bosses and going, how much? I'm like, I'm sort of going, yeah, when is it, man? Yeah. That's awesome.
It's like when we were lucky enough to do the Smashing Pumpkins thing.
Yeah, that was so great. And I even got to fist bump Perry Farrell.
Yeah.
Like, I'm packing stuff in the back of this truck with this American guy, and then Perry Farrell and his, like, girls come up and they just start talking to the guy who's showing me how to pack the truck. Yeah. And I just, like, had to just turn to him and go, Perry, I'm a big fan. And he's like, well, you give me some knuckles then, man. And it was cool, so it was super cool. Everyone gets a little moment.
And I mean, I was working with Jimmy Chamberlain's drum tech all day.
You did get to work with the drum tech all day.
An interesting thing, I didn't know who he was at the time. The drum tech for Jimmy Chamberlain on that Smashing Pumpkins tour was the Victor Salazar, who runs Vic's Drum Shop in America.
Oh, he's the Vic's drum shop guy.
The Victor Salazar.
No.
He's worked with Portnoy. He's worked with a heap of guys. And I was sitting there fanboying over Portnoy all day, not realising I'm actually working with a legend in his own right.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Oh, well, you can always look back on that one, though.
Well, the next time I see him, I'm going to have to go and apologise and be like, I'm sorry I didn't even realise who you were the first time.
But now I do.
Now I do. I'm going to shake your hand and be like, man, thank you for teaching me so much last time. That was fucking awesome.
So have you been doing much writing, bro? Like, have you been like writing some new material?
Well, we haven't had time to get together to actually practice and write music. So, what Matt and Dean do is they write music and then they write the lyrics and then I come in and play drums over what they've got.
Yeah,
so my stuff kind of comes last, even though it gets recorded first.
Yeah, it gets recorded first, but in the composition process, it's one of the last things to be added. Yeah.
So I don't necessarily have to worry too much about the actual writing process, but it's like I do a lot of actual like writing, and as you can probably tell by the interview today, I'm kind of really good with words.
Yeah. Yep.
I would like to have a crack at writing lyrics, but it's like, is the stuff that I want to write about musically appropriate
for that particular band?
Yes.
Yep.
So it's like I look at the lyrics on the Unleash the Archer stuff, and it's all like sci-fi. The latest album's all about AI gaining sentience and stuff like that.
Oh, and see, I even do some weird sci-fi stuff in Jack the Crow, but I'm able to because I'm able to do whatever I want with it.
Yeah.
But would that work necessarily in Age of Emergence? Yeah.
Maybe.
So.
It would depend on what the context of it was. But like my two favourite things in
Dream Theater have went sci-fi a couple of times. Yeah.
Like Pale Blue Dot. That's about a Carl Sagan quote.
Oh, the Pale Blue Dot. I love that quote. Yeah. There was a band around here in Newcastle called Majora.
Yeah.
They were an instrumental band. And they used that whole Carl Sagan quote while they're playing this djenty kind of metal. Yeah. So I'll show you the link for that one. Yeah. But Pale Blue Dot.
Yeah, so the quote, just for people who are unaware of the context, the Carl Sagan quote is, it was a picture of Earth as one of our Mars orbiters was around Mars, and you could see this star in the distance. That was this pale blue dot. And the sum of human existence equated to basically a speck in the cosmos.
Yep.
And that's it's when you can view Earth at that level, all the petty squabbles seem like petty squabbles.
Yep.
It's like, why are we arguing over this particular tract of land when we're basically just a speck of sand on a beach?
Yep.
It's incredibly cool to think about. But my two favorite things, I've technically got three, but I'm not going to mention the third one. My two top favorite things are Dream Theater, which I have the tattoo for, and Stargate.
Oh,
which
that's
I also have the
Stargate.
tattoo for. So that's the symbol for Earth.
Yep.
And that's some ancient writing.
Ah.
So that's the language of the ancients, who were the gate builders in the TV show.
Yeah, awesome.
So
and it's a fantastic TV show, and I actually, funnily enough, I was on Prime the other night, and it came up and it said, you might like this. And I pressed play, Kurt Russell, why not? But the movie was great too, so...
Yeah. Oh, and actually I can mention a third, so there's four. My third is Ancient Egypt.
Oh, yes, he is an Egyptian, this guy.
No, I'm not actually Egyptian.
No, he's not actually an Egyptian.
I studied Egyptology
He
at uni,
studies
so
Egyptology.
I've got all the sort of background, so I can sit there and have you want to come and tell me the pyramids were built by slaves? I'm going to sit there and lecture you for an hour on why you're wrong. It's like we've got theories about how they were built, and there's some generally accepted ones, and slavery doesn't factor in. Indentured servitude, yes. Slavery, no. Because why would you entrust grand monuments to be built by slaves?
Yeah.
You want a specialised workforce, and that's essentially what a lot of it was. 1/4 of the people who built pyramids were specialised workforce. They worked round the clock, or not round the clock, but every day of the year. And then the other 2/3 were basically the agriculture workers who couldn't work when they had the flood season. So when the Nile was flooding, when it wasn't harvest or planting time, when the Nile flooded and the fields were we had water and they couldn't do anything, they get dragged off, sent the workers a labour force on the pyramids. But it's like, how did we get the stone blocks up there? It's like aliens are like, no. It's ramps. It's ramps, sand, water, reducing friction, that sort of stuff. But it's like, I could go on and on and on about that.
But it's not ancient aliens, alright, guys?
I mean, like, the ancients in Stargate would kind of be like that, but then they've also got the Goulds.
The Gould.
The Goulds are the aliens who helped build the pyramids and all that stuff. It's like...
It's a really cool show, guys. Go check it out.
The reason why I got into Egyptology was actually because of Stargate.
Yeah, so awesome.
The two things are...
See, where my thing, I always... Because of being a big fan of Sepultura and Soulfly when I was younger, I always wanted to learn more about Brazilian culture, just because of a band and their music. But it's so interesting how things like that can influence us. That's so cool.
You can get an understanding of a civilization's culture by its music too.
Yes. You can get an understanding of someone's personality, roughly, if you know what kind of tunes they listen to. Like, I vibe off people just off what music they listen to.
If you want to understand Brazilian culture a little bit, you listen to a lot of samba. You listen to a lot of the stuff they play at Carnival.
And I also... I explored, because of the stuff that Max did on Roots Bloody Roots, I would explore some of the jungle music and stuff that's made by the tribes, and some of the pan flute stuff and all of that sort of stuff. And then I also incorporate a little bit of that into my Jackal Crow. Like, I've got like sections in Jackal Crow where there's like bongos and stuff going on.
I mean, Eloy on Drumeo. Eloy breaks down a lot of the Brazilian styles on Drumeo.
Oh, I'm going to have to watch this. I'm going to have to watch
video
that.
Eloy does. It's like, when you're into metal, it's like Eloy's the best metal drummer on the planet. He's in the biggest metal band that's not Metallica. It's like, he was a household name when he appeared on Modern Drummer in the early 2000s when he was like 17. He was a prodigy. An absolute prodigy. People were looking at this guy going, holy crap. And even at 17, he was hitting as hard as he was then, now. So how hard he hits now, he was hitting that hard then. And he's maintained that consistency for years. So he is the guy to look at when you want to look at the physical side of drumming and how to perfect that and not hurt yourself. Because a lot of guys play a very physical style.
Yep.
But they also end up hurting themselves.
Yeah, I've heard about, like even back in the day, I seen photos that drummers used to share without wearing gloves. And just
calluses.
the calluses and hands ripped open.
But it's
and,
also...
I've even heard of fellas fracturing their wrists and stuff like that.
Carpal tunnel.
Carpal tunnel, yeah.
Which is the worst thing that you can get, because the only way to address the pain from it is surgery, and the surgery recovery time is 6 months.
Yeah, okay, yep. So that happens, then you're out for a while from your job.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's part of the reason why a lot of the guys around now, a lot of the modern guys are talking about actual health.
Yep.
So they advocate for cardio, weights, proper diet.
Yep.
Whereas back in the 80s, it was all like booze and cocaine.
Yeah. And like even like unhealthy drummers as well. Like I've seen back in the day.
Or Gene Hoglan used to be bigger than he was.
Like, you know, yeah, like big guys on the drums, like bigger than me. You know, so they blow out. Yeah. Some of them blow out quite quickly because they're not not fit enough.
So Gene Hoglan's an example of a guy who was a bigger guy, and his style came from him not having stamina. So he did a lot of like fast double bass flourishes and runs, and he did a lot of bass drum patterns. That came about because he was bigger. Nowadays he's slimmed down so much.
Yeah.
And that's because his current wife has said, well, if you're going to keep doing this for years, you've got to get in shape.
Yeah, yep.
So she's kind of pushed him to get...
and that's what I've even noticed with Big Mick from Slipknot too.
He's slimmed down.
Mick has slimmed down so much, and he's got that lovely lady behind him, and I bet you she's making sure that he's staying healthy.
Well, he's still big.
Yeah.
He's built like a tank.
Yeah,
He's not built like a porta potty. He's built like a tank.
He is, but lately in some of the footage I've seen of him like going to like the like where they manufacture the pickups and stuff. I watched the video of him doing that.
Oh, the EMG.
Yeah, and he goes and he watches how they're made, but he has his own custom one made directly to his own frequency response. So it's a very custom made Mick Thompson pickup.
Because he wants to get those like wireless.
Yeah, so he wants like all of that wireless sort of stuff and that. So they did all these frequency response tests with him, but in that he's looking so fit, and that's what I'm gonna be working on soon in the future too. Is just trying to slim down, trying to get fitter, and trying to be more active like at my job. So. Yeah.
Well, the basic thing you can do with that is just go for a walk every day.
That's what I've been doing here is just going around this house, like this block.
Yeah, walk for 30 minutes a day, eat a bit more protein, cut out the carbs, cut out the sugars.
Yep.
You know?
So, we're getting towards the end of our evening. This has been a great video. Is there any things you want to sort of say to wrap up the afternoon, Adam?
Well, I want to say thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome.
So, I mean, this guy, he's a nice guy. He's doing good work here.
Cheers.
I've watched a few of his videos, so it's a pleasure and an honour to be here. It's also a big thank you to the guys in Age of Emergence for giving me the sort of like profile to now be able to get asked to come and do something like this. I know that there's a few people around who say some negative things about me. I'm hoping that with my personality, you get to sit down and have a conversation with me.
And that's what we're doing right here. And like me and Adam get on like a house on fire at work.
And you can see that I'm a genuine human being.
So I had to do it here. I actually had to have Adam over the studio. We were gonna maybe do a Skype call, and then it sort of hit me. I was just like, you know what? Me and you at work, like Aaron has said to me before, he's like, you two would make a great podcast. So, like a metal podcast, but specifically metal. But Aaron once said to me, he's like, you two would make a great podcast. Yeah. So here it is right now.
Yeah. And again, like Michael Louders from Black Ruse for booking Age of Emergence and giving us the tour dates. Glenn and Punctured for helping keep my mental health in check. And
that's awesome. Cheers,
and yeah,
Glenn.
just no matter how bad life gets you down, there's always something good to come from it. And
that's it, eh? Oh man, I never thought I'd be doing this.
So with the stuff I've been through over the last 12 months, I'm like being able to sit here and do something like this.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's also humbling to know that my work is now getting at least, and the effort that I've put into my instrument and my craft is getting at least enough respect. Even though something small time like this,
Yep.
so I know this is not like the big time.
Yep.
But it's like, it's at least it's making waves with people.
Yep, and that's even what I'm just trying to do with this channel too, make little waves.
No, I got compliments from the guys last night, the other bands last night, about my style, how I played, and they loved it. And I'm like, for me, it's like with my music, I'm at least getting the right compliments from the right people.
Yep.
Anything negative anyone says, it's usually personal, and it's usually nothing to do with my music.
Yep.
I want my music to
even
speak
negative
for itself.
things I've ever heard said about myself, anything around, it's usually something that someone has personally against you.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about it too much.
So it's like, on the personal side of stuff, it's like, I tend not to let that stuff bother me.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm a genuine human being. Most of the guys in the metal community are. Like,
Yep.
from what I've seen with interviews with Eloy, he is one of the most humble guys on the planet, and he's now in Slipknot.
Yeah.
Humility, dignity, respect, kindness, and courtesy.
And honesty.
And honesty will get you so much further in life than anything else.
Yep.
And if you're a fantastic musician and you happen to hook up with the right people, then you're doing well.
Yep.
So, as a young musician, it's surrounding yourself with the right people that's important.
Yep.
It's not just, you focus on yourself, you're playing and being better than you were yesterday and the day before and the day before, and slowly and incrementally improve.
But it's also
you also need to surround yourself with the right people who are going to build you up, encourage you, make sure that you're pushing yourself safely.
Yep.
So you don't want to push yourself too hard, too fast, then get disheartened that you're not hitting your goals.
That's what I did my mental health video about the other day, was just like making sure that exactly what you said.
It's always realistic goal setting. Where do you want to be?
Yep.
How do you want to get there? And how are you going to get there? So I practice drums a little bit every day.
That's awesome. I actually only practice guitar probably once a week, which is, I really hate that. I used to actually play guitar every single day when I was living in the flat and it was just me and my wife, but having 3 little kids, it's really changed the dynamic.
It's finding the time. Like, I work 9 until 5. So I work a 9 to 5 warehouse job. I get home at 5:30, I'm tired. I come home, I shower. Even if I get the pad out for 10, 15, if I get a practice pad out for 10, 15 minutes and just play some rudiments for a little bit before, while I'm waiting for my dinner to cook.
Yeah, even while you're watching TV.
Yeah, it will help you develop. And even if it's just a slow thing, you get more fluid, you get used to movement, and you're also keeping yourself limber and nimble.
Nimble, yep.
Yeah, so you get unfortunately, like, age hits the best of us. Phil Collins had to stop playing because he got really bad arthritis in his wrist.
Really? So is that why we don't hear of any new Phil Collins stuff anymore?
He did the last tour sitting down in a chair.
Okay.
His son was playing drums.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So Nick is a fantastic drummer in his own right too.
Oh, I bet he is.
But Phil Collins unfortunately had to stop playing because he got really bad arthritis. And it happens to everyone. But it's how we manage through that and how we can try and stave that off.
Yeah.
Which is important. When you start to notice aches and pains, it's best not to fight through them. It's best to work out what's causing it and address it.
Actually, I even get my arm lock up sometimes when I'm doing pentatonic scales. Yeah. And what I found was it could be a little bit of carpal tunnel or something like that.
Because if you're typing, if you're doing a lot of typing and a lot of stuff on the computer,
which I have been doing over studying for the last 3 years.
Yeah. So it's like that. Carpal tunnel is a musician's worst enemy.
Yeah.
If we get that, it is painful. It is very difficult,
and it ruins the playability of your instrument.
It's also frustrating because you're like, I know I can do this, but my body will not let me.
Yep.
It's like what happened with Dave Mustaine. He got that paralysis in his arm that time.
Yeah, he fell asleep on his arm and for 12 hours straight. And then he developed a thing where
a nerve thing in his arm, couldn't fret anymore.
Yep.
And then he had to reteach himself how to play guitar. He said it was the most frustrating process because he couldn't play any of his riffs that he'd written.
Oh.
He had this stuff in his head that he wanted to do and he physically couldn't.
Yeah.
He had to do the rehab work to get his hand back to where it was.
So he almost really did have to start from scratch learning to play guitar again.
Yeah.
Probably even had to play some basic riffs just to warm up.
Yeah, so learning like ACD.
Yeah,
for someone like Dave Mustaine who is that good,
playing ACDC probably feels slow to him.
But that's part of the thing why it's like, even with young kids, it's like you shouldn't get discouraged because every musician that you look up to started at the same point you're at.
Yeah.
They woke up one day, decided they wanted to play an instrument. They sucked from the start.
Yep.
now they're your favourite musician. You could be someone's favourite musician someday. It's the first step with anything to do with music is to acknowledge the fact that yes, you're going to suck, and you will suck some days, and you'll be okay some days. You'll never ever be as good as your favourite musician because they've had years of experience on you, and if they keep practicing, they're always going to be one day ahead of you.
Yep.
They're always going to be that amount of time plus a day. It's not getting frustrated at that. It's going, if I continually and I incrementally improve, I'll get there. So,
and that's sort of what I'm doing with this channel too, is one step at a time. Like I'm really sort of doing these YouTube videos bare bones at the moment. Adam will have a laugh here because me and him are actually looking at an iPad right now, and I'm just using the camera on my iPad. But I do have plans to get a decent camera soon, to get a decent light setup, to get a decent desk here with some computer chairs and some SM7Bs so we can do this pro. But you got to start somewhere, don't you?
You start small, and it's like it's the same with everything. So it's like
these videos, I'll probably look back on them in 10 years and go, "Oh my god, they're the ones that I used to do with the iPad."
And it's like with my kit too. I didn't just get that kit when I started.
That's right. You would have had probably your first kit would have just been a 4 or 5 piece. Eh?
It was a 5-piece kit. It barely had any hardware. I didn't have any cymbals.
Yeah.
I learnt the intro to Enter Sandman because it was the only thing that I could play because it didn't have any cymbals.
Oh
so
yeah, because it really rides on those toms.
I bought the kit one day, and then a couple of weeks later, I then got the cymbals. So I was practicing on the toms and stuff. So that's why some of the grooves that I have were very, very tom heavy.
Yep.
But it's like I didn't get the gear that I have overnight. It's hard work.
Yep.
It's perseverance, and it's dedication. So you need to be, in order to pursue music, you need to be dedicated and you need to be passionate.
Yep.
If you're not either of those things, you need to reassess what it is that you're doing and how to find the dedication and the passion. And that again comes back to finding the right people to work with. Every single person I've worked with over my entire life has inspired me to be a better musician. Matt and Dean do the same thing now. Danny Jackson did that 5 years ago for me. Josh Allen, when I worked with him in Decades, did the same thing for me. Did you
work in Decades, did you?
That was my cover band, yes.
Yeah, I actually remember seeing you like years ago at the Belmore Hotel.
Yeah.
Decades.
Yeah, that would have been a couple of years back now.
Yeah.
But it's like...
Yeah, I remember that.
So,
oh, cool. Well, there you go. I've probably seen you play before.
And that was also with Matty Thrace and Jed Piper too. So that was like...
I'm a good friend with Jed Piper as well.
Yeah. So we
and also his brother Mick.
Yeah, so we were doing a cover band, and it was kind of like... Because those guys were really good musicians, they inspired me to be better. I was notorious for playing songs too fast, so I started getting used to playing with a click track doing that. All of my covers are now recorded with a backing track and a click.
Oh, okay. That's how you do your covers.
Yes,
all right.
And it also helps me because I can see the...
But you don't do that for your metal stuff because it's more organic?
I don't, so because Dean and Matt don't record the songs to a click track, it's not on a click track, so you can't put it on one. Yeah,
okay. Things are very natural and that tempos will fluctuate.
But once I work out the tempo, because I'm now used to playing with click tracks, I kind of lock that in.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So, but yeah, it's like, I didn't learn to do all that stuff overnight. I didn't get my kit overnight. I didn't get what I have overnight.
And you've also been through a trial and error of many different bands as well, and different lineups and different genres of music.
I'm proud of what Decades was able to accomplish. I'm proud of what we did as a group.
That's awesome.
Even though it didn't end the way I would have liked it to have ended, it just... I could go into that and it'd be an hour video.
Yeah, well, we might have to do another whole deep dive on that another time.
Those guys were great people to work with. They were fantastic musicians, and they were able to help carry a vision of what I wanted for a cover band. Matt and Dean are doing that with me with Age of Emergence.
And it's an original band with some really exuberant songwriting.
So
I love it.
With this, I'm able to express myself how I want to express myself as a musician, because they're writing music that I like, they're writing music that enables me to express my creativity and utilize my drum kit the way that I want to utilize it. And the same thing with Punctured. I get to express myself in a slightly different way, and I get to use my kit the way that it is.
Yep.
So it's like learning to play is the first step. Once you then get to a point where you're comfortable then playing with other people, then you can look up for local open mics and go and jam with musicians there. You might find people you click with, but you'll at least get experience playing with other musicians. And then when you feel like you're ready to form your own band, that's when you then find guys who are like-minded.
Literally like-minded,
and they don't have to agree with you 100% on everything in terms of like...
I've been bumping into some like-minded people about my Jackal Crow project. A few people are a bit like-minded, and they're like, "Ooh, you really like what you're doing here, man."
Yeah. So it's like, that's the thing. It's like, you need to find people who are interested in what you're doing.
Yep.
But it's also, you're never gonna agree with anyone 100% on everything. But it's like, if you can work together musically and create music that you're all inspired by.
Yep.
That's the goal. A lot of guys are like, do we want to play music that people are going to enjoy? It's like, first and foremost, you need to make music that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And then the people who like that will come. Look at Tool.
Yeah, and literally, I've always heard a line, I think it was from Robert Plant, and he said, if you get off on playing the music, everyone else will. Yeah. It was such a simple quote. Yeah. But he's like, if you get off on playing this stuff, everyone else will too, man, because they'll feel your energy.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like, if you play your music with conviction and with passion, people are going to be like, I like this vibe, I like this energy, I like this positivity. And I think that's what's happened with Unleash the Archers. Like, they started off kind of like, and they've slowly started to go up now. And then now, I would assume in the next couple of years, they're going to be on like big festivals like Varkin, Hellfest.
Look at that band Sleep Token. They went from some Bandcamp band that no one knew about that has these sort of secret songs and stuff to the most talked about metal band in the entire world. All of a sudden, like, click. Sleep Token, huge.
Sleep Token for me came out of nowhere. I mean, I'm not personally a fan.
I dig it.
It's because I don't vibe with their music.
Okay, I vibe with it, but I think I vibe with it because my wife vibes with it. So then I've got to vibe with it with my wife.
The thing with Sleep Token is, again, I've put this as a public Facebook post. I've said, I personally don't vibe with the music, but I can understand how what they're doing can be a religious experience to some people. Yeah. I see that, I understand that, and I respect them for that. The fact they've come out of nowhere doesn't bother me. It's like they've had this meteoric rise. It's
because I've heard some accusations, like sort of like industry plant accusations.
It's like Spirit Box too.
Yeah,
like Spirit Box came out of nowhere, but they also allowed their music to speak for itself. Like Courtney LaPlante is a fantastic vocalist.
Yeah. Seen them live at Knotfest, they were great.
Same with Ginger.
Oh, she's amazing.
Ginger are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of bands, and I think this is the thing, and metal has been a lot. I don't want to say male heavy for years, but it kind of has been. Yeah. But we're now starting to see an influx of very, very talented women getting into the metal scene and succeeding on their own merits. Yeah. Not because they're women, but because they're actually good.
Yeah, look at Hailstorm.
Nita Strauss.
Yeah, wow. Nita Strauss, I actually even got to, at Alice Cooper, I got to actually make sure that all the power went to her room so that she could have a little 10-watt amp in the corner and just practice before she went on stage. And when I went in there, all the leather pants and stuff were hanging up on the coat rack. Yeah. And the room, it just smelt of perfume. Yeah. And I'm like, this is the den of a rock goddess. Yeah. I must be respectful. I will place this power box here I will put that guitar amp there, and I will leave that alone.
Yeah.
I so much respect,
but it's
Nita.
like we're seeing highly successful women killing it now in
killing it. It's awesome.
But they're getting there on their own. They're not being given a leg up just because they're women.
That's
why I love Christina Scabia. Lacuna Coil has been successful for 20 years because they're actually good. Same with Epica, same with
Arch Enemy. Angela, and I forget the new
Alyssa
singer.
White Goose.
She's just as good. And I remember even when she first come into the band, Angela basically ushered her in.
Yeah.
She was like, "No, this girl is going to be my replacement, and you're going to like her."
Angela took a step back and became Arch Enemy's management.
Oh, so she's still very involved in Arch Enemy.
And I believe it's because her and Michael were involved. And I have a reason to believe it's because she wanted to start having a family. So she wanted to take a more hands-off approach but still be involved with the band.
Oh, okay.
So that's a way to do it.
That's super cool.
And it's like she wants to pursue being a mother as a thing, but she also wants to manage Arch Enemy. It's like, but you get to see a new
side of Angela.
We get to see a new side of Arch Enemy. With the new singer. So it's like Alyssa is fantastic. She goes out there and kills it. Lizzie Hale, Courtney LaPlante.
Code Orange. What's her name? I like Code Orange too. She's great.
Speaking of Portnoy's son plays drums for Code Orange.
Oh well, there you go.
Max.
Okay, so he's the drummer for Code Orange. Okay.
And it's like that's the thing. It's like you're getting there's all this successful stuff now, and it's because people are dedicated, they're passionate, and they know what they want to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are, what you identify as, what you want to be. If you're good, and you're a decent human being, you're humble, you're courteous, you're truthful, you treat people with respect, you'll make it in any industry.
Yeah.
And you'll make it on any instrument too. And that's sort of where everyone needs to try and get to. It's like what Elastapario says when he did his one-handed cover of Dragon Force while holding up the iPad. If you people spend more time practicing and less time hating, the world would be a better place. But it ain't.
There we go.
It's like,
so start practicing.
So just stop hating and just become the best person that you can be.
Yeah, awesome. And then also, with when you're in your band and you're with your crew, just spread the love. Instead of arguing, you know?
Just be passionate about what you believe in, but also be respectful too.
So, I'm going to start wrapping it up there for the afternoon, Adam. But I love that we've had a really awesome metal talk. We've really got to have a great talk about your gear and your style. And I like that we also had a very serious segue on mental health because it's super important, and I did a video on it not long ago, and I think it's the most important thing, and I was honoured to hear Adam open up about that on my channel. So thanks for that, Adam.
Oh, good, thank you.
Awesome. So thanks for coming to Simmo Metal. Let's get a fist bump. Yeah. One more. There we go. That's it. Stay metal, metalheads. I will see you on the next episode. And if you really like this one with Adam, let me know, because me and Adam are good friends and we can do many more. We can do some deep dives on stuff. We could do a whole Portnoy episode, just like the Portnoy episode. Adam's deep dive on Portnoy. We could do whole episodes getting right into Dream Theater's history.
Dream Theater Records and just deep diving into an album.
Hey, I'd love to even have Adam over with, do you have any physical media of Dream Theater that you'd love to talk about on the channel? Because I talk about vinyls and CDs.
I've got a Black Clouds and Silver Linings CD, which I got signed by Portnoy when I went.
I'd love for you to bring it over and talk about it. One of the things on this channel,
it is my favourite Dream Theater record, so I could do a deep dive on that entire album.
Awesome. Well, one of the things on this channel is a bit of a show and tell thing. I have done it many times, and we might start getting guests on here to do show and tell. So stay metal, metalheads. Thanks for joining us today, and thank you heaps for coming on the show, Adam.
Thanks for having me, mate.
I am honoured. Awesome. Got the drummer of Age of Emergence and Punctured here, Adam Clayton, everybody. I'll put everything in the description. Stay metal, metalheads.
Thank you very much.